Upon a bus as she stayed her claim. At a time when racial injustice reigned, what transpired? You think she was insane? Rosa Parks took a stand like a man against another man, who told her move to the back of the bus. No, I was here first. Rosa Parks said I paid the same amount as you. So if fear is fear and fear is fear, then I can sit here too. Now in present time, her freedom star spike has turned to pine. When we poison black people's thinking, we got freedom but we destroy lives. Double standards, same words, no rhyme. We rather just push and shove, teach hate, not love. Why not give back our freedom, brother? We are still in the back. We're still in the back. We're still in the back at the bus.
Feel alive, feel alive.
Where we're from, and we don't have a place. Caucasians have America, Spanish have Spain, Orientals in Asia. I think you know what I'm saying. Now some black people of the Caribbean want no part of Africa. If you tell them come and let me go back home, they say And today's youths don't understand. We all have to take a stand, cause with the influence of different cultures, we turn to criminals and money vultures. And youth music reflects this crime, with distasteful and filthy rhymes influencing young people's thinking. Hip-hop, rap and dance hall makes without mother ball. And only guns we know in black movie show. We don't corrupt our kids with love no more. We're still in the back. We're still in the back. We're still in the back at the bus.
Feel alive, feel alive.
So beware who invite you. You might be taking a chance. They built a beautiful mall and a pretty market. Well, tell me which one black people going get. Did you know Ku Klux Klan make millions from those pretty car fragrance crumbs? And went on national TV and told us thanks black people you dumb. Took her turn to say her clothes were and shoes, making millions can lose from black people who they abuse. Now just to make a dime, you see we've lost our flipping mind, selling drugs to people we should hug. And standing in the A-line, a man use his last 2 dimes to get on boardwalk. The Alsea open chances pass them by. That's why Miss Rosa's star don't shine. We're still in the back. We're still in the back. We're still in the back at the bus.
Praise the Lord, praise the Lord.
Hey, 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 hey. Dandelion, dandelion, we're in front in the race to carry guns on our way to defend ourselves from our own black race. We're in front in homicides. We're in front in assaults. We're in front in race genocide, raping kids and adults. We're in front in the race to have the most people locked up in jail. And we're leading the pack to have the least to come out or on bail. And if you don't think the system will, every time a black person fails, take a closer look, cause by hook or by crook they finding money to build us more jails. Now I hope you see that it's time for us to get off our black behinds and do something to change young people's thinking. Give them knowledge, wisdom and pride before thoughts of destruction control their minds. Forget the guns and the drugs and the money, give them love. For God's sake, let's all help somehow, or we'll be still in the back. We'll be still in the back. We'll be still in the back at the bus. We'll be still in the back. We'll be still in the back. We'll be still in the back at the bus. We'll be still. We will be still. We don't want to be still in the back.
Yes, definitely. We're still in the back of the bus mentally here in our beloved Federation of St. Kitts Nevis. I'm DJ Maurice, and I'm coming to you live and direct from my bunker here in the Republic of St. Paul, St. Kitts. Yes, you heard it right. The DJ is still here in good old St. Paul's. This good day, Wednesday, 17th December, 2025. And my good people, this evening might very well be my final podcast of this kind for this year, 2025. As you know, I normally take a little break around this time until around the middle or the second week of January. So in the meantime and between time, I'm here to bring you some updates. We're going to do some flashbacks. We're going to drop some clips. There's too much to really talk about, as you guys are aware. There's a lot happening on the ground here in St. Kitts Nevis. We're going to get right into some of that situation. But before we get into the conversation, there might be some of you who online for the first time and bump into us and wondering what this podcast is all about. So let me do my due diligence and drop this clip so that you folks can get an idea what you're in for this afternoon, this evening.
Wednesday evenings are heating up. Log on to DJ Maurishaw's Facebook Live broadcast every Wednesday evening from 6 to 8 p.m. It's a frank and candid exploration into the social, cultural, political, and economic issues affecting our federation. And just in case you missed it, you can also catch the broadcast on his YouTube channel, DJ Maurishaw. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube and smash that bell. You will be notified whenever he goes live. DJ Maurishaw, every Wednesday evening. Facebook, 6 to 8 p.m. or thereafter on his YouTube channel, DJ Marisha. Log on.
Yes, my good people, you heard it right. We are here each and every Wednesday evening from 6 to 8 p.m. Due to some technical difficulties with the Facebook app, we come a bit early. For those of you who online get the early version of the podcast. However, the general public get to see the full live at 6 p.m. But let me take some time out to big up the good people there, Island Purified Water, the best water people there, Main Street, Newton Ground, St. Kitts. I want to thank them for keeping the DJ hydrated whenever he's in our beloved Federation. I want to big up the man, Brother Scatter there, Mr. Powell and his family, for their continued support to community service and keeping the folks hydrated as well throughout the Federation. So, just before we get into the meat of things, let me take a quick run across to St. Thomas, Virgin Islands, and touch my boy there, Brother Malvern Gums of the Spectrum Band, and here we have to say about the DJ. But before I touch Malvern Gums, I want to touch my cousin there, my favorite cousin there in St. Thomas, Sister Natalie Carty. I can see she's online. I want to big up Caroline. How Caroline doing, ma'am? Just tell her season greetings for me. I want to touch Sister Margaret Taylor there in the UK. The man Everson Powell there in the St. Martin area. Thank you, Brother Powell, for taking care of the DJ while he was there a few weeks back. So let's take a quick listen to what Malvern Gums have to say about the DJ.
Hey, this is Malvern from Spectrum Band, and you're listening to DJ Marisha, playing you the best in Caribbean music.
You got that?
Hey, this is Malvern from Spectrum Band, and you're locked into DJ Marisha. Keep it locked.
And you keep it locked right there, my good people. And just before we touch much more of all of that good stuff we're going to discuss, let's take a little run across here and hear my icon there, the man Dr. Garfield Alexander, have to say about the DJ. And everyone have their opinion of the DJ. Some positive, some negative. For whatever reason, the negative does not fit, but you know, you got to take the positive with the negative. So let us hear what the man, Brother Garfield Alexander, have to say about the DJ.
DJ Marisha, I don't want you guys to take your eyes off him. Remember, he's been around for some time. Let's go back to COVID and lockdowns. The gentleman came in, was locked down in quarantine, and then realized the total hypocrisy, tyranny, and oppression of the then administration during our most horriblest time. Spoke out. Not only spoke out, became an activist. And then you know what he did? Organize and centralize. And he never stopped organizing and centralizing until Timothy was gone. I don't even want to talk about the involvement he had before and the Douglas administration and the Harris. We ain't gonna talk about that. I'm just talking that during COVID, that man, both on this front, locally, and in the US, waged war against tyranny and oppression. One simple man, a DJ as he calls himself. He never called himself an engineer or anything else, just a DJ, because he understands the power of voice, and not just voice, autonomous, independent, honest, transparent voice always wins in the end. So it could be persons with unlimited power and unlimited money. He somehow always becomes the David against the Goliaths. Be careful with him. Be kind to him. Watch him. Because trust me, he's going to triumph in the end again.
And that's for sure, Brother Alexander. I would not disappoint you. We are definitely on that road for success. My good people, there's a lot to update on. I would not be able to fulfill all the information in 2 hours. We have 2 hours here this afternoon to just chat. And I'm going to reflect back on some situations that we are dealing with. There's a lot to speak about. We have the matter of the Reginald Francis in the New Guinea matter there, fighting to save his boatyard. We have the folks there over at the Friars Bay, those bar owners trying to save their living on that end. You know, they got the matter of the Christoph Harbor, we got the matter of the Galaxy Prison Project. It appears as though the Ramada here in the St. Paul's area gone black. I'm going to have to do a little live from there one evening to show you guys what's taking place there at the Ramada. There's also the matter of Glen Barrow, still waiting for some updates from Mr. Glen Barrow. There's a lot happening on Nevis, this SSZ bill that was presented by Premier Mark Brantley to the people. Because in no way, in my view, the Prime Minister could just come up with this SSZ bill in Parliament on the 31st of July, giving it its second and third reading on the 11th of August 2025. And out of the blue, a week later, Premier Brantley claiming that he's getting some proposal from some developer to develop the south side of Nevis, the south coast of Nevis, with a whole lot of restrictions. We're going to get into all of that, my good people. But before we do that, I just want to update the folks that we're going to be doing our final awareness match this coming Friday, 19th of December. The usual place for meeting is down at the West Bus and Ferry Terminal, downtown Bass Station Kids. We're going to be gathering there between 3:30. The match will take off at 4. We're going to be marching around the Bass area and end up back climax at where we start at the West Bus and Ferry Terminal, where we'll do a little rally. So for you folks who in the area, we ask that you join us. Let's have a walk, let's have a chat, let's talk about the happenings. I understand that there are some happy individuals out there last night and today from the Prime Minister announces that there will be a double salary paid to civil servants on the 19th of December. Well, like I've been telling you guys for weeks, these corrupt, bad acting, bad actors that we have there in these offices, the back is against the wall, pressure is on them, they're trying to survive for their life, their political life, sorry. So they must pay some kind of money, whether it's going to be a double salary or whether or not it's going to be some kind of dividend. And as usual, whoever is advising this Prime Minister and his team, they still come up short. Because here is it. It was announced yesterday by the Prime Minister that he's going to be giving a double salary to civil servants on the 19th of December. However, he tried to make it look good on their end. I understand he stated that the ministers will not be getting a double salary. But my good people, I was a delegate for 1199 local in the New York area and 1199 SCEIU international. And one of the things I always try to explain to our workers, the one-time bonus that management want to offer every 2 years in a contract, that bonus, it comes and it gone in one shot. It's best to negotiate an increase, whether a 2% increase or a 3% increase or a 4% increase, because that increase you got for the life of your job. When you just get a one-time bonus, it's one time and it's done. So for those people out there celebrating that they're going to be getting a double on the 19th of December, I just want you guys to really pay attention to the games and the gimmicks that these politicians play on you guys. Because just a few months into their taking up office, they gave themselves a 33% raise. That 33% raise is for the life of the employment. They get that every month for the 5 years they will be in office, or the 4 years they will be in office, whatever the life of their employment. They're getting a 30% increase, 33% increase, sorry, on their salary. So not getting a double does not bother them. The per diem that they get when they travel all over the place is more than the salary. So for those of you out there who want to clap and jump up and celebrate, as my boy Garfield would say, I will clap when I am impressed. You know. Now, another thing about this double salary that I continue to speak to the Prime Minister about when I had his ear is that whenever there's a dividend paid, it's the people who already have it, who is already working, who maybe could use a little extra, but the people that really in need. You go to the communities, they take the census of the country. They know where the poor people are. They know these folks, some of them have never worked in their life, are not capable of working. Some people are sick. They won't be getting a double. 2/3 of this country will not be getting a double of anything. But the pain still there. They give to VAT Day. Saturday coming, the 20th, is a VAT Day. What are these people going to go and buy? So these are the things that I keep talking about that people need to understand. Dwyer gave me a scenario back in 22, how governments function. And he explained that 90% of the people will always be the folks that get knocked about and don't benefit anything from government or the country, even though they're the most in need. Because while you have the top end, the oligarchs, the big shots, while you got that 5% up on the top up, they're getting the big chunk of everything. Then they got the other 5% that they give a little thing on the side, a little place on a board, a little trip to some place, and that 5% out there singing for the supper, cussing people like the DJ who trying to educate the masses. So that is how they function. Only one thing about the DJ though, there's no amount of cussing that will stop me from coming and speak to the people about wrong and right. And this brings us back to the situation that we are having here on the ground at the moment. And it's unfortunate that we are still mentally in the back of the bus. Because while they put us as citizens to fight amongst ourselves for the bad things that they're doing to us, they enjoy everything that is there. Now, you guys remember some time back under the previous Team Unity administration, there was the Premier Mark Brantley that was campaigning for his fair share and was demanding, I understand it went from whatever 20, whatever percent, it went into all the way up to $66 million at the end of the day that Nevis was benefiting as a contribution towards their bills annually. Or is it monthly? Somebody correct me. But I know it was a 66 million that he was getting under the Team Unity administration. Someone told me last week that during the Premier's budget, he said that now has gone down to some 35 million. I don't know if that is monthly or annually, but whatever it is less than the 66 million that they were getting. So, my good people, I want to drop a couple of clips for you just to bring you up to speed, because the end of the year, and we have discussed a lot throughout the year. And so for some of you, you might have even forget some of the conversations that we have had. So this is the reason why sometimes I reflect and go back. As my boy Henry would say, I would wheel and come again. So that going into the new year, folks can go in with a clear head that they don't stay in the back of the bus. I don't want them to stay in the back of the bus at all. So let me drop the first clip and let you hear what Premier Brantley had to say to former Prime Minister Dr. Harris via his podcast, via his rant and his press conference, the way he roughed up Dr. Harris about getting his fair share and Nevis. And this was back in 2022. So let's take a quick listen. Yes, let's take a quick listen.
We want to increase the number of seats in Nevis to 7, a plan that we had before that was put on hold because of COVID. Why? Because the rigors of government now are far more than they were in 1983 when we became independent. We want to see 5 federal seats on Nevis, and we'll be speaking to the government in St. Kitts about expanding that. 10 in St. Kitts, 5 in Nevis, 15 seats. Again, the demands of modern government suggests that we need more people, a broader range of talent in government.
Okay, my good people. So we understand where the Premier stand, that he can manage Nevis with 3 federal seats. So he needs 5, he needs help. But then, before he got those seats in place, he was asking for his fair share. So let's listen to the Premier.
Mr. PM, listen man, this thing getting out of hand. What's going on with the situation? Oh, I'm going to bring in the World Bank to do the maths for us, because we can't count in St. Kitts Nevis. Why you don't get a accounting student from the Nevis 6th form? Come down and say, okay partner, how much money CBI brought in? How much did we pay to agents and promotion and all that, and pay staff and whatnot? How much left? From what is left, Nevis get 25%, St. Kitts get 75%. You see how easy that is?
So, my good people, that was Premier Brantley at the time, letting the then Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris know how to divide his share of the CBI. This was after Timothy terminated 6 of them in May of 2022. Now he didn't stop there now. He doubled down on it. So let's listen.
Oh my God, the World Bank has to be invited in to look at this matter. Now let me ask you, in a country that boasts 98% literacy, where we have such bright young people at CFBC and Nevis 6th form, you mean to tell me that nobody could count money in St. Kitts Nevis? Nobody could say, well, citizenship by investment bring in X, expenses are Y, X minus Y leaves Z, and let us divide the Z like how we say we're going to divide it. Nobody could do that. You need to bring in the World Bank. In Nevis, we call it cataflam. Cataflam. And I know that I looked at my passport before I came here. And my passport says Mark Anthony Graham Brantley. My passport never said Kunomono. It don't say Kunomono. And if my passport don't say Kunamono, me shouldn't let nobody make me into a Kunamono.
So my good people, that is Premier Brantley in his rare form, taking on the former Prime Minister, Dr. Harris, in regards to the fair share coming from the CBI. But remember, we had an election campaign of 2022. And during that campaign, a lot of things were said. A lot of words were thrown. And Dr. Joe at the time sent a strong warning to Premier Brantley that you could try them shit with Timothy, but the springtime labor not going to take you on with that. A one shot we got for you. So, my good people, listen to the message. Remember, it's not the DJ, it's the message I'm playing. Huh?
There's a man who came over to St. Kitts, and he think he could lever him out in St. Kitts as much as he wants. But tell him, you know, the springtime crew ain't take that light, you know. The springtime crew ain't take that light, you know. The man come over St. Kitts and talk about his sheriff. But tell him, when the springtime crew done with him, neither he nor none of them gonna left standing, because it's one shot we got for the sheriff.
Yeah, so it's just one shot Dr. Joe had for the sheriff. And it appears as though that is what the Premier got. Because, my good people, while Premier Brantley was jumping up and making noise about no reason to go to the World Bank, he sat quietly and allowed Prime Minister Joe to go to the World Bank and do his thing. So let's take a listen to this clip again.
I never spoke to the World Bank. I never requested anything from the World Bank. If I had my way, I would not have involved the World Bank at all. I would have simply said, hey, we know how much money coming in. Take out the expenses. This is the population. This is the population St. Kitts. Divide the money. Easy like that. But the World Bank was involved. A report was had. The report was not commissioned by me. It was not commissioned by the NIA. So I don't understand this talking point that, oh, Mark Brantley, he need to do this, he need to do that. Mark Brantley doesn't need to do anything.
For the opportunity again.
So, my good people, as the Premier said, he don't need to do anything. That is up to the people of Nevis to take care of that themselves. Because you put him there, you elect him to do a job, and he's going to do as he please. Right? So, the allowance that Nevis got prior to this government, which was some 66 million, has now reduced to, I understand, 35 million. Let's take a run across here to the town hall. We're going to be speaking about the SSZ as well this evening. And my good people, don't forget, this coming Friday, we will be down there at the West Bus and Ferry Terminal just about 3:30. We'll be taking a stroll around Bastille from 4 to 6. So I look forward to you folks that are in town, especially you folks coming in from the diaspora who does not understand what's taking place in our beloved federation. I just want you all to understand something. They've been talking about building smart hospital since they got into office. Well, prior to getting into office, but since they got into office, there's all kind of gimmicks and optics and stuff been taking place. They have broken ground several times, and a piece of land there opposite Ross University there in the Camps area. And it was said that those lands are private lands, so they really cannot do anything there. But like what was done in Nevis in 22, when the premier made sure that he painted the structure of the new hospital wing and gave people the impression that the new Alexandria Hospital wing would be ready to open in weeks. Well, this was 2022. We are now in 2025. And the status there stands the same. So I would hope that our good people that came in and see those billboards out there about new hospital coming. I hear my partner Kelvin Daly giving the Prime Minister credit for starting the new hospital because he claimed he handed over drawings and whatever. These folks really not paying attention, because if they're paying attention, they would understand that this smart hospital was supposed to come in 2023. Then again, it was supposed to come in 2024. Then they're supposed to start in 2025, December. So this is December almost finished. And I can say to Brother Daly, handing over some plans and so you're waiting for the process to take place, that does not give you a start date of construction. According to the Prime Minister, construction would have started in December. We are in December, and handing over some plans does not equal to start of construction. Start of construction is breaking grounds, mobilization, land clean, foundation dug. This is the kind of stuff that we call start of construction. So this uptick to get photo ops to put on their social media page and to put these billboard up to give the impression to the visitors from the diaspora who does not know better that this big hospital coming. Trust me, under the Team Unity administration during the 2022 campaign, there was a big billboard for a new hospital as well. This is nothing new. There was a big billboard up. I don't know where it disappeared to after the election, but I know there was a billboard up for the new hospital. So I am asking you people that are coming in, don't be fooled by those optics and these gimmicks. This government has not sourced the necessary funding to build that hospital. They get a few bucks from Taiwan, and even if they start building this new hospital, I can make it plain to you and clear to you. They might start something, but they're not going to get any place with it. They might be able to put down one or two structures, start the foundation, but they don't have the funding, the necessary funding to build the structure that they have on that billboard. Keep your eyes open. Follow what they're doing. Let me drop this clip here for those of you who might forget what the Prime Minister said back in 2023-24.
So I would say the government's position is that we want health tourism. The other matter is we are now going into building a new hospital, which is going to break ground very, very soon, within the next 2 weeks. We are going to create a health city. The health city will be where Ross University is. Ross University Vet School, then there is UMHS, you'll have the hospital, you'll have a research center, which I'll speak to because you asked about it. And then we will also have private medical centers to complement what we are going to construct there. And that medical city, we want to become an area where health tourism can also be pursued. And therefore, the concept of One Health, we want to build it out here. So you'll see that medical city being built in St. Kitts and Nevis, and it will start very soon. I'm talking about it will start in weeks. And again, that is because this is a progressive government. In less than 2 years, we are pursuing the construction of a more modern hospital that will offer good, improved services to our people and to those who come.
Sometimes I say, to my good people, as the Prime Minister said, in less than 2 years, they are proceeding to break grounds in less than 2 weeks for the smart hospital. We are now in 2025, 4 years into their first term, and their final term, our only term. They are now coming with optics. That's what that is. Tell them, show you the money, show you the account, show you where the money is. They don't have the funds. This is not costing them. I am saying it's time enough that the Prime Minister done away with his lies. Stop misleading the country. I get so much call yesterday about whether or not I watched the presentation of the budget by the Prime Minister. My stomach is not that strong. Those lies, my stomach cannot take them. And as folks reach out to me earlier today and telling me about things that he said and they're upset, and I told him that is why I don't look at this gentleman speaking, because his lies will get the better of you. I have first-hand experience with his lies. And enough is enough. So I am just waiting for the appropriate time for us to do what we have to do. I will not be wasting time listening to the Prime Minister telling the lies that I already know what he's going to tell, even before he say it. I can fact check the Prime Minister on the spot. And before he could finish a sentence and you ask him a question about what he just said, he's going to deny. He will deny what he said, because that is him. Now, we have this issue with this SSC matter, dear Nevis. And the honest truth is that from back in July, from the town hall on July 5th, actually, I start following this thing. And I want to thank Sister Lawrence, Miss Carlin Lawrence. I call her the whistleblower. Because if Miss Lawrence did not stand up and question the Premier and he did not make the responses he made, the DJ would not have nothing to talk about. Because I believe in progress for Nevis and improvement for Nevis. But with all of these lies that took place that night and going forward, and even now with the AG and the Prime Minister and the developer coming out talking, the more they talk, the more the thing don't sound good. They're confusing each other. 1 minute, they don't know who presented this SSC bill for the Prime Minister to take to Parliament. And next minute, the AG saying that the NIA had no input in that bill prior to presenting it in Parliament. Then the next minute, you're hearing the Premier saying his legal team had sight of it and made some suggestions. I mean, come on. We all are adults. You guys know you mess up. You did not do things the right way. If you guys got some money from the developer and you made a promise, just tell the developer, listen, the people in wake up now, they're smarter than we thought. They got us by the breath. So we got to make the adjustment and go back to the drawing board. So, my good people, if you guys forget where all of this thing started, let's take a quick listen to Sister Carlin Lawrence.
And to whoever you want to sell it to, the government cannot stop you But then if you're hearing that it's going to become something so private and so exclusive that perhaps, because as you say, it's rumor, perhaps I may not be able to go down there with my grandchild. I may not be able to fish. The boat may not be able to go out. That to me then falls on government to make sure it looks out for the people and let us know what's really going on in the area.
Well, I think that's fair, but as you say, you started by saying rumor, and I would be a fool as Premier to sit up here and say I'm responding to every rumor. If I had to deal with every rumor that I hear every day, I would have no time to do the actual work for the people of Nevis. So if you have rumors or you're listening to rumors, I would suggest read the Bible instead.
Maybe it's not a rumor.
Because, I am saying that we as government have no knowledge of what you're speaking because no formal proposal has come to the government. I explained that. So here you are talking about rumors, and you're asking me as Premier to respond to rumors. I say read the Bible, read Genesis. I think it's a far better use of your time.
Mr. Premier, are you confirming that it is a rumor? Are you confirming that it's a rumor and there's no truth to it?
But I don't know. Am I not speaking English? I'm trying my very best to explain that the government has no proposal before it for any development of the kind that you say is rumored. That is what I'm saying. If and when such a thing comes, consistent with our transparent approach, we will definitely come and talk about it.
But we should be concerned, shouldn't we? We should be concerned.
You should be concerned about rumors.
It may not be a rumor. We don't know. The average person, me, the individual in the community, and the reason why we're here tonight, right, is to come to people so you could hear from them. So please don't try to shut me up, okay? I have a right to speak as a Nevisian. I have a right to speak as a Gingerlander. I live in this community, so please calm.
Miss Basley?
My name is not Miss Bazzi. My name is Carlin Lawrence.
Carlin Lawrence.
Okay, Miss Bazzi works at Neville.
We're scheduled to stop at 9 o'clock.
What I am asking for Mr. Scarborough is the Premier, I have to ask here because the average person don't know. We're hearing it, it could be a rumor and it may not be a rumor. And since we want to play games with words, since the real estate agency, right, that is being said to be dealing with the developer is Mrs. Brantley's agency, then I have to ask.
Mrs. Lawrence, if that is some attempt to drag Mrs. Brantley's real estate agency, as you're saying, to your rumor mongering, then I ask you to desist. Miss Lawrence, hear me out. You asked a question. You have come to the town hall meeting. You have premised a whole debate tonight on some rumor that you say you have been hearing. I don't know how am I supposed to respond to that. I respond to facts. I respond to situations that we are aware of that are on the ground. I said to you that the government has had no formal proposal setting out any project of the kind that you've described.
But that wasn't my question.
I've said that 3 times. And every time I've told you that you're going back to say what you hear, your rumor, what you hear.
I didn't ask if the government had a proposal before it, you know. I asked to please explain to the people or to shed some light on what we are hearing.
But how can I shed light on what you are hearing?
So you don't know?
I don't even know where you're hearing it from.
Okay, you don't know, and it's unfortunate, Mr. Premier, that you don't know as the leader of the island.
Could you give somebody else the mic, please,
You should know as something
we would have heard what you had to
serious.
say, Miss Lawrence.
Mr. Scarborough,
please, give somebody else the mic.
Mr. Scarborough, this is a democratic island, we say, right? You don't have to agree with me. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You have commandeered the mic on the basis of a rumor that you have heard. I don't even know. Is your neighbors give you the rumor? You heard it on radio? Where did the rumor come from?
We know. I ain't even trying to let you lead me down the road, because all of us know where party comes from.
We have a town hall where the government is seeking to engage with the public. You have insisted on engaging us all night on the basis of what you describe.
Mr. Brantley,
you describe as rumors.
I'm asking if there's any truth to it, because you should know. You're saying there's no proposal before government for development in the area.
Yes.
I accept that. Okay. But then you should know what is happening or what is said to be happening, and then you should be able to shed some light on what is going on. So I was only asking in the interest of the people that to make sure that we are not cut off from being able to use the Atlantic coast, right? And who is offended, I owe no apology to,
So,
right?
Ms. Lawrence, it's not about people.
I want to know because I want to be able to use the shoreline, so I'm asking.
And if there is any development that we need to engage in with the public, we will. I have been trying to answer you all night, and no matter how I try to answer, you keep coming back to what you hear.
Okay.
What you've been hearing. I am not in the same circles as you. I don't know what you're hearing.
My
I can only
conclusion.
respond to what we know as government that has been presented to us, and that is what I can speak to.
So
if, again, I say, I were to speak to every rumor that this island generates, I would have no time to actually do work.
I understand and I agree. The conclusion to your response then, sir, is that you don't know.
Very good, people. That is on July 5th, 2025, where the Premier had Ms. Lawrence well told off, even offered her to read a Bible. I think it was Genesis. He asked her to read. He did not know. But as the clips continue this afternoon, this evening, you will realize that not only the Premier knew what Ms. Lawrence was speaking about, because apparently Ms. Lawrence was contacted by the Premier wife, I understand, in regards to some lands and that area. But you will find between the conversation presented to the general public by the Premier, the AG, the Prime Minister, and the developer, Mr. Jensen. This matter been going on for, at a minimum, 3+ years, at a minimum. And I am of the view, my good people, that knowing this Prime Minister who love to brag and boast, and the Premier that love to brag and boast, had this SSZ, aka Destiny Project and Nevis, was for the good of Nevis and its people, they'll be trying this thing in our face every opportunity they get. So for them to be hiding this thing and playing the games that they're playing with this project, it tells me something is wrong. And we need more information. It starts wrong. It needs to be repealed and follow the correct road of process and let the people of Nevis make that decision. Not sneak something to the back door, and when you get caught, you want to come push it down the people's throat. In the clips that are coming up, you will hear the developer telling Brother Banky and his partner Yoshan that he expects an agreement to be signed by the end of the year. We can't have that. We really cannot have that. And that's the message I tried to present on Monday evening. And I'm going to speak about that experience as well. But my good people, from that conversation on July 5th at that town hall meeting, by the 31st of July 2025, a bill was presented to the Federal Parliament by the Prime Minister, seconded by the Premier of Nevis. These things never happen in history where you have a Prime Minister presenting a bill and the leader of the opposition in the likes of Premier Brantley, the opposition leader, I'm saying, and Premier of Nevis, second that bill. Not another member of the government, the leader of the opposition. Second that bill. And sped it through Parliament, because the first reading was on the 31st of July. And if they really wanted the community, the citizens, to get proper information like they're trying to do now, consultation should have taken place throughout the Federation before that bill went for its second and third reading. That never happened. Not even the Bar Association, as per the bar and other NGOs in the Federation, got sight of that bill. It was rushed through. And the 11th of August, there was a second and third reading. By the 22nd, I think, 25th of August, it became law. It was an act, the SSZ Act. I listened to Douglas talking about he supported the bill because he wanted to get a special zone here in Whitegate. Well, Douglas, you come over here waiting for you. I'm right over here in Whitegate waiting for you, Dr. Douglas. Bring your special people over here. The people of St. Paul's waiting patiently. But right after the act was gazetted, here comes this bullshit artist, Premier Brantley, with his address to the nation.
My fellow citizens and residents, I address you this evening to explain to you recent legislative developments in the National Parliament of St. Kitts and Nevis, touching and concerning the Special Sustainability Zones Authorization Law, passed with unanimous support in the Parliament on Monday, 11th August 2025. I address you at this time because the Nevis Island Administration has been formally approached by an investor seeking to establish such a zone on the island of Nevis. That investor is a citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis. Matters are now under active discussion at the cabinet level, and no decisions have been arrived at. It is, however, important that I keep the Nevisian public fully abreast of developments to date. Now, what is a special sustainability zone? The idea of special economic zones is not a new idea. They exist in most developed economies in the world. Globally successful examples exist in China, India, Singapore, and in Dubai. In the Caribbean, these zones have existed in Jamaica from as early as the 1970s, and the Cayman Islands officially launched its SEZ on the 3rd of February 2012. Globally, these zones are characterized by significant tax incentives, dedicated infrastructure, and a specific legal framework. Given the clear over-reliance nationally on the Citizenship by Investment program and the obvious challenges those programs are facing internationally, I have long advocated that we move at pace to diversify the St. Kitts and Nevis economy and to bring into being new and innovative ideas to drive development which is not dependent on CBI. It is in that vein that I and my CCM colleagues in opposition supported the recent passage of the Special Sustainability Zone Authorization Act in the National Parliament. I believe that the National Parliament has significantly improved upon the idea of the Special Economic Zone. St. Kitts and Nevis is the first country in the world to introduce an enabling mechanism for special sustainability zones, zones that go beyond economics and include requirements to develop in harmony with nature, create long-term high-quality jobs, ensure renewable energy and water security, restore land and protect our environment, provide sustainable services inside the zone. This ensures that any such zone in St. Kitts and Nevis combines prosperity with sustainability. Now, how does the law work? Let me take a few moments to explain to you how the law is intended to work. The law is quite simple, running to a mere 9 pages. Section 3 sets out the objectives. These include sustainable development in harmony with nature, creation of long-term investments and quality jobs, and the promotion of development which focuses on water security, green energy transition, food security, and luxury accommodation. The law makes it clear that a special sustainability zone is created when a development agreement is entered into in relation to a specifically defined geographic area on either St. Kitts or Nevis. Under Section 4 of the law, the Prime Minister may enter into such development agreements and so declare any such zone on the island of St. Kitts. However, where any such zone is to be declared for the island of Nevis, Section 4.2 of the law makes it clear that there can be no such zone created in Nevis without the approval and consent of the Nevis Island Administration. I want to emphasize here that there can be no designation of any area in Nevis as a special sustainability zone unless the Nevis Island Administration agrees and approves that declaration.
My good people, I just want you to understand that the Nevis Island Administration representatives, all three of them, on the federal side, and it appears as though the local NIA have already accepted and approved this matter. So the games that Premier Brantley is trying to play is not going to fly by the DJ, but it's up to you, the people of Nevis. Because while the Premier was giving Colleen Lawrence the run for her money, that she hearing rumors and he's not going to entertain the rumors. Several weeks later, following this clip, here is the Premier coming back, speaking to the people. And had the Premier said to Miss Lawrence that evening at that town hall what he said in this clip I'm about to play, I would give him some credit and I would have patience with him. But to every time they open their mouth, they're putting themselves deeper in shit. And that is what it is, some serious shit. I am of the view that somebody get paid. Somebody's making some money about selling out these islands. And the DJ will not stand by and be quiet. So let's take a listen.
Asked about my wife again, and what I can tell you is that I had no involvement whatsoever in anything to do with these people deciding to use my wife. In fact, I will go further and tell you that my wife knew these people before I did. So nothing came to the government and then there was a suggestion that somehow they were sent to my wife. That is not the case. And I think that people who know me would know that I do not do business that way. So my wife actually knew these people and was engaged with these people. I think she told me that her first engagement with them was merely to find information because the people were interested. They wanted to know who owned, they wanted to know, what was happening on the island in terms of activity, in terms of real estate. And she's a real estate broker, and so she dealt with it. But there is absolutely no truth to the suggestion that I had anything to do with steering those people to my wife's business or in any way, shape, or form. And I will say that because that is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And I'm not here to try to convince anybody of anything. I have seen some of the comments popping up, so I know the audience that I have. I'm not trying to convince anybody. I'm telling you what the facts are. You accept them or you don't accept them. But that is the position. My wife actually knew these people long before I had any knowledge of them or engaged with them in any way, shape, or form. The people have come to the government. They have made a formal proposal to the government, and the government is considering that proposal.
So, my good people, that's following his address to the nation. He then come back and acknowledge that, yes, his wife, Bill, having conversation with these developers. So the goalposts continue to move when it comes to Premier Brantley and this matter. You know the saying, a liar has no memory. That is what I am observing here. No disrespect to the Premier. As I have always said, whether you want to believe it or not, I am one who admire the Premier and the person that he is. What I don't admire is his continued games that he plays with the people of Nevis. And for some reason, some people love it so. But if it was a private matter, I would have to stay in my lane. This is about the Federation. This is about the island of Nevis. This is about the future generation to come. So the DJ will continue to speak out. Now I'm going to drop another clip here. And in this clip, it was a caller that normally call in on the various stations giving his views. And he happened to call in on Freedom FM with Jamie, Sam Conda, the AG, and them was there one afternoon. And the question that the caller tried to get answered, very simple yes or no question. Did anyone from the NIA or the Premier had input in the preparation of that bill that was taken to the federal parliament? And out of a long conversation, you will realize the AG still lied to the gentleman and lied to the general public about whether or not anyone from the NIA had input in that bill prior to it getting to Parliament. Let's take a listen.
With plenty ice box and all kind of stuff to carry them back. I want to get rid of them. Okay, listen here now. Earlier you say that like the rich girl pie in the sky. And
no, he didn't say that.
No, I said that in the past there was a pie in the sky.
Exactly.
These developers are actually proceeding to construction before the end of this year.
Right. And then you are saying that if not happen, it will be a pie on the ground.
Yes. No, I said yes. If they leave, if the developers leave because there is obstruction to them proceeding, then it will be a pie that fell on the ground. And nobody will benefit.
Exactly. Jeremy, me listen well, you know. But it will be a pie that just disappear. Or a pie that vanish. You know? Anyway, AG, I want to ask you one quick question and then we gone. The law that passed in the parliament where I cause so much controversy in Nevis right now. You get me asked the Premier question and he said that he did not put in no input. It was just the AG office is the one that draft that bill. So me ask you now, because this is a freedom. You get any input different to the AG office to draft the bill, yeah?
Let me explain what the bill does. I think
that's not what the man asked you. He asked if there was any input by the Premier.
No, there's been a lot of misinformation. Jamie, if you could give me 30 seconds.
Okay.
All the bill does is allows the Prime Minister to enter into development agreements for the creation of a special sustainability zone. Mm-hmm. If there is a zone proposed in Nevis, the Premier and the Nevis Island Administration must be a party to that development agreement. Uh-huh. It does not create a zone. Mm-hmm. In order for a zone to be created with special rules in Section 6, it must go to Parliament as the development agreement itself. Mm-hmm. And everybody gets to see the terms, everybody gets to have the debate. I think this debate is a little premature because this bill is not controversial in any way. It could potentially be that a development agreement bill could be controversial, but we are putting the cart before the horse.
So was there any collaboration with the AG's office and the Premier? That's the question.
There was and the Premier? No.
Or from the Premier's office?
No.
Any contribution from Nevis?
Potentially.
Potentially?
Yes, because I'm not the drafter.
Okay.
You want me to bring my drafting team on board? I'll bring them on the show with me next time.
Just find out from you.
But I understand what the question is seeking to do. It is a federal bill. It can apply in St. Kitts or Nevis, as explained during the debate. And the debate is available on YouTube. I wasn't part of the debate, but the debate is available on YouTube. It has the potential to create different types of zones that can bring economic benefit to St. Kitts and Nevis. The debate that is occurring right now is in relation to what the Premier is saying about Nevis.
A potential zone.
And I'm not getting involved in that. The NIA has their legal officer and so forth. All I can say is that I know what is controversial and what is not. The Special Sustainability Zones Authorization Act is uncontroversial because it is preliminary in nature. If a zone is going to be created, there will be a special debate. And Jamie, you know sorry for carrying on, but you know what a complaint I always get? That, especially Mr. McMahon, we want to see the agreements from the opposition. We want to see these agreements. This act says if an agreement...
the agreement will come before Parliament.
What's more transparent and accountable than that? Then we could have all the debates we want to have about a potential sustainability zone.
Okay. But the question is whether there was collaboration with the Nevis Island administration and the AG's office. So next time you come?
No, the input, no. I can tell you no, because the input for amendments that occurred in Parliament came in Parliament.
Okay. Okay, gentlemen, we are out of time.
Yeah. So you heard it for yourself from the AG. The answer is no. There was no input from the NIA and the drafting of that bill. The input that came in Parliament, aka Parliament. Now, I want to thank my boy Banky and Yoshan Tafari for skillfully getting some information out of Premier Brantley. Apparently, Premier Brantley and the AG did not get their story together. So let's hear the Premier explaining to Banky and his partner that yes, his legal team had sight of that bill and they gave an input. Let's take a listen.
For the opportunity again. The Special Sustainability Authorization, the Special Sustainability Zone Authorization Act was passed on the 11th of August, 2025 in the National Assembly. Let me correct one thing, Banky. Not all legislation passed in the National Assembly automatically applies to Nevis. It depends on the topic. It depends on the subject matter. So in this case, this legislation provides in its terms that it will apply to Nevis, and that had to be with the consent, therefore, of the Nevis Island administration. The Constitution provides that where legislation is passed in the National Assembly on a matter over which the NIA has responsibility, the NIA can signal its acceptance that it would apply to Nevis, and so this legislation does that. I want to go back in time for a moment. I have been, since I was in the national government up until 2022, and since then I've been in the role of leader of the opposition at the federal level. I have been advocating for efforts to diversify the St. Kitts Nevis economy. I don't think, gentlemen, that it is any secret that we have been incredibly dependent on citizenship by investment. The citizenship by investment goose has been laying that golden egg for a very long time. And I think in many ways the country has become addicted to CBI. It is quite clear to me, and I think to others who are observing, that the CBI has come under tremendous international pressure. I'm not going to debate whether that's fair or unfair. It's simply what it is. And as a consequence, I expect fully that that goose that has been laying the golden egg is going to get a lot thinner, a lot slimmer, and that those eggs are not going to be as golden as they used to be. So I have been advocating for opportunities, innovation, that we get to a point where we have, of course, other options to fuel our economy. You mentioned cannabis. That's one of the things that I've said. Listen, let's get on with it. And this notion of a special sustainability zone was one innovation.
Yeah, Premier.
Yes.
I know the bill was tabled to the House from the federal government, right?
Yes.
So those are the one who came up with the idea of the bill.
I don't know, but I don't know who came up with. I don't know who came up with the idea.
Well,
I don't know.
The reason why I'm asking, which means
Yes.
Dr. Joe have the same idea with you, basically, and the U.S. Minister of Syncit, because it's everybody realizes the CBI public are within a situation, so which is the perfect idea that both. Well, I guess that coincidental, everybody had the same idea. So,
well, it's not.
Since the federal government came up with the bill, that's what I'm wondering. It come out perfectly with your alignment when I was saying the federal government is going. So they see the same way the CBI is going into dropping, not making the same amount of money. So I'm asking if they had the same idea, or you both had the same idea, or the idea was discussed.
So who had the idea? Who didn't have the idea? I can't say to that. It's a
But
national
the federal
bill.
government, I mean, if the federal government says they may want to table the bill and bring the bill to Parliament. Yes. Because the bill, I'm not sure if the same bill could have in Nevis. I'm not sure. Could the same bill have done in Nevis? So that's what I'm saying. I'm just trying to understand why it is done in Syncits.
Okay. So the national parliament the bill was presented in the national parliament because obviously this is a national effort. So what the bill seeks to do is to create a framework to allow these zones to be created on Syncits and on Nevis. So Nevis couldn't do that because we couldn't pass legislation in Nevis that would allow a zone to be created in Syncit. So this legislation allows that zone to be created on either island, and that is why it was done there. The legislation had my support on the first reading. It was presented by the Prime Minister. And on the second reading, it had the support certainly from myself, the Honorable Eric Evelyn, the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, and then on the government side, it had the support of the Honorable Jeffrey Hanley, the Honorable Dr. Denzel Douglas, and if I recall correctly, the Honorable Connors Maynard. I could be corrected on the last one, but I'm certain about the previous ones that I mentioned. And then, of course, the wrap-up was done by the Prime Minister. Looking at the bill itself, gentlemen, I don't see that the bill is particularly controversial or difficult. There's really nothing about the bill that I see.
Premier, you realize you still really answer the question. I'm trying to over if the bill could have passed in Nevis, or since the Prime Minister and his cabinet came up with the bill, right? Because I want everyone who listening understand the bill and appreciate what the bill is intended for. So I want to have a clarity breakdown because I myself trying to understand these things too. So it's just a general question I'm asking. Since Syncit passed the bill into Parliament, our company, because David who tabled the bill, I don't know how long this bill come to take into fruition before each Parliament to draft it. You're the legal mind, so I want to give me an idea. Well, you draft bill before, but this particular one, which is I said to be a massive bill, but if since Syncit is come up with the idea, when if you and Dr. Joe basically say we also the CBI going into a serious situation where we're losing funding and the US, the United States, and everyone is watching the EU. So which means if there was between you consultation going between both Syncit, Nevis, and NIA, or Dr. just came up with the bill by himself, but which you supported the bill, or if you wanted to support the same thing, or you could have passed the bill in Nevis, and it is done like that. Or I just wondered if there was some kind of collaboration about the bill.
You're taking me all around the place. So let me try to kind of get direct. Yes, a bill could have been passed in Nevis, right?
Yes.
But there's certain provisions that these zones may have, like issues in relation to taxes and the like within the zone. That I believe that is why the Attorney General took the decision that the bill be passed in the national parliament, because there is a need for the national government to be engaged. Did the NIA have sight of the bill? We did not draft the bill, but we had sight of the bill because, of course, there were provisions in there that impacted Nevis. And the question of how a zone could be created in Nevis. So that bill would have come in draft to our legal advisor in Nevis on that issue, because the provisions that impacted Nevis, obviously, we would have liked to have seen
So you froze your son?
No,
the Premier froze?
I think it's the Premier. I think it's on his end.
The necessary protection that we need. I'm sorry, are we back?
Yes, you
yeah,
got
we're back.
frozen.
We're good. Yes, you have frozen a little bit.
I was
Yes.
frozen for a moment.
Perfect.
So we were satisfied that the necessary safeguards were there and that control of lands in Nevis would remain firmly with the NIA. And it is on that basis that we said, fine, we had no objections to this bill.
So very good people. If you listen to the previous clip, you would have heard the AG stating that the NIA did not have an input until they had the debate at the Parliament. Now, you hear the Premier says that the draft bill would have come to his legal team in Nevis and they would have given their input. And after they were satisfied, then the matter went back to St. Kitts. You would also hear the Premier said that the AG was the one that recommended that this bill be presented at the federal level and not at the local NIA Assembly and Nevis. What is amazing, now that the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis decide to get deeper into this matter and ask questions, the two individuals on St. Kitts that is responsible for bringing this bill to Parliament, namely the Prime Minister and the AG, they are now saying to keep the name out of it. Keep them out of Nevis business. Let's take a listen.
Sometimes I see people trying to pull me in. You can't pull me into Nevis affairs. If Nevis decide to sell the land here, what does that have to do with me? That is the Nevis Island admin, and it was specific.
Do we have where are some of the sustainable zones here on St. Kitts presently?
There are no sustainability.
Oh, we don't have any.
No, because this law was just passed.
Okay.
Yes, there's no proposal for St. Kitts for any sustainability zone. The Premier has said there's one for Nevis. Yeah. I do not want to talk about. To be honest, I don't want to get involved in the debate that's happening in Nevis. That is a debate for Nevisians.
So my good people, the Premier don't want the Prime Minister don't want his name involved, don't call his name, while the AG don't want to get involved in that conversation, but they're the one that created this mess. They're the one that allowed this matter to get where it's at. Without that SSZ bill presented at the federal level, there would be no SSZ project coming out on Nevis. So we got to continue to hold their feet to the fire. And as the DJ says, repeal is the only option because the lies are just too many. So let's go back to the drawing board. Go to the people of Nevis with their town halls, present whatever this matter was, and allow the people of Nevis. And you know something? It is very clear that they know already what the people of Nevis are saying, you know. Because I have been on Nevis, and without being on Nevis, the atmosphere in both St. Kitts and Nevis is to repeal the law. We don't want no destiny. That is clear. I understand that there is some survey that was taking place over the weekend. I was on Nevis there on Saturday evening. And someone is telling me that someone approached them and they was doing a survey about how they feel about this SSZ bill. And this Destiny project. And it was alleged, I still have not spoken to my boy as yet, that my boy Dwyer was contracted to take care of that survey. it is amazing to me, and it's funny that over the past several weeks, 7 consecutive weeks to be exact, Dwyer has been commentating on this matter in a negative way. He does not support it. And he was paid, according to some information I got, to conduct this poll. I am still waiting for some information to clarify whether or not Dwyer is in fact the person that was contracted to do this poll, and I look forward to hear the result of that poll. But my good people, without getting too deep, because like I said, so much information to present in a 2-hour span, I don't want to run out of my 2 hours without really get to the meat of the matter. So we have heard from Colin Lawrence. We have heard from Premier Brantley. We have heard from Prime Minister Drew. We have heard from the Attorney General. Let's take a few listen. I have a few clips here from the developer himself. So let's hear from the developer. Clip 1 from Mr. Olivier Jensen. And I must give credit to the topics with the man Banky and Yoshan, who did these interviews.
An easier question for you then. Is the project a CBI project?
We're still discussing with the government, of course, but yes, the idea is that people that buy a unit can also or get a passport with that. So it also increases the CBI income, because the CBI income has been drying up substantially. It's also a big concern for the island, so it can definitely help rejuvenate the whole passport program. And also talking about passports, and I think it's a much more urgent concern, right? If you're worried about people having passports or voting rights, and I will also go into that, of course, because I think it's important. You have right now 50,000 passports that were sold, right? So you already have like double the population of what you have right now, and those come with voting rights. And I think that's an issue that needs to be addressed by the federal government, because technically those people can come to St. Kitts and Nevis today and vote.
Yes.
And this is a bigger problem than having something which is now sort of theoretical with a couple thousand people coming versus having the 50,000 already.
So my good people, yes, this is another CBI project, Citizen by Investment project. They cannot deny that. This is what the developer is telling us. So while they're cussing the CBI, that Prime Minister Drew and the AG have basically messed up as a result of trying to be vindictive with the MSR media team. That is why we are where we are today with the CBI. That is why the CBI have lost traction. This matter that I basically advised the Prime Minister to settle with MSR, aka Mr. Martinez. Settle the matter. You encourage the man, from what he said, to come and buy the OTI. They spend millions of dollars to buy the OTI and to renovate the OTI. That project came with CBI shares. They would have needed to get an escrow account approved by the government to do their operation to make back their the money to recoup their investment. Because the AG is a vindictive fellow, very vindictive. That is why him and his neighbor are having problem right now, Brother Reginald Francis, because he's a vindictive nature. The Prime Minister apparently is the same, because they denied the MSR team the opportunity to recoup their investment. So naturally, the MSR team, aka Mr. Martinez, went to everybody in the world that will listen to his story to let them know the bad actors that we have in St. Kitts. what they have done to foreign investors, aka MSR Media, and the monies that they have tied up in St. Kitts. I advise the Prime Minister, if you're not going to give the people the opportunity to operate, give the people back their money, take that hotel, give it to the college, whatever you want to do, turn it into office space for the government, and let's move on. Instead, they're playing games. So, as a result of this stalemate between MSR and the government, aka Prime Minister Ju and the AG, our CBI is suffering a great backlash. The people of Nevis are already feeling it. Because from 66 million, they are down to 35 million now. I don't know if that is a month or a year. The bottom line is they're almost half. And if the good premier that Dr. Timothy Harris told us was a bad spender could not get much done on 66 million, I am very concerned about what he will do with 35. We got to concern about our brothers and sisters on Nevis and what's going to happen to them with 35 million. Because if you cannot survive on 66 million, how are you going to survive on 35 million, my good people? Like I said, there's a lot to discuss, a lot to talk about. Time is running out, so let's move to the next clip with developer Mr. Olivia Jansen.
CBI gonna work when it comes to buying a condo or a home? If by buying that, if you have to, you're gonna have shares to sell. Do that come with shares? How does that works?
You mean CBI or because I'm not?
Yes, yes. So where the funding gonna come? Yes. How does that work? Usually CBI mean you get amount of shares and then you sell the passport. The money will help to develop the project and stuff like that. So how does that work for your project?
Well, technically it is when you buy a unit, right? The moment you have paid down at least $325,000, if I'm correct, you have a right to a passport, right? So we're talking to the government to make sure that every unit that gets sold also has an obligation to get a passport with that unit. So there's a guaranteed CBI income per unit that is sold, if that makes any sense. I'm not going to go into the technical details because I don't want to say anything that's incorrect. But the whole idea is that the CBI program will be involved and St. Kitts and Nevis would get CBI income from units being sold, yes.
So my good people, it is a CBI project. This destiny on the south side of Nevis will be developed from our tax dollars. So you're going to tell me that there is nobody, there is no developer on St. Kitts and Nevis that is capable to use our tax dollars, our CBI money to develop St. Kitts and Nevis. We have to continue to go out to get foreign investors to come in to take our CBI, give the government 30 or 50,000 of that money, while the movers and shakers within the government and their colleagues, the bank account overseas swell like rice. You know, when they say the rice as swell, you know, when you cook rice, you try a little cup of rice, but the pot get full up. So in the meantime, these bad actors and their acquaintances account continue to swell, while the people of St. Kitts and Nevis continue to suffer. My good people, we must stop this project. It is not our destiny. It is their destiny to take the patrimony of our beloved federation and do what they want. Up till today, our citizens are not benefiting out of what we have worked hard here for. You know? Many people die for what we are taking for granted. Me girl there sing a song some time ago, you know. My teacher there singing Jackie. We take things for granted. And as I listen to these clips and put my podcast together, there's so much of singing Jackie songs that tell us these things what's happening. Can I play them tonight? But hopefully in the new year, I will have the opportunity to put a program together where I can play these songs back to back, that you all can hear them. Singing Jackie tell us about these things. She even tell us about the get rid of them anthem, you know. She sing about that as well. You all do not go in there and do nonsense and become the get rid of them anthem, because you all tell us get rid of them, you know. Dwyer tell us let's get rid of them, you know. But Dwyer only wanted to get rid of one person. Because the fella across his name is Dwyer didn't want to get rid of him. Back to Mr. Olivier Johnson. Clip number 3.
Time, if the project have to start tomorrow, which means you have the funding already in place to do the total complete project. The fund. So where's the funding going to come from? How much funding you have already to start that project? If you say you have to start tomorrow, well, X amount of unit will be finished within the first year and a half. The second is the project just flow with no stopping, and you're saying the white horse is a white elephant, as they call it. So are the funding available as we speak without anything as a go?
Yeah, first of all, as part of the development agreement, we need to show the government proof of funds, right? So we need to show that we can have the funding to build this. We did that, and we will continue doing that, right? Otherwise they cannot sign the agreement. We have the funding in place. It's also an incremental type of funding deal, right? We will fund, let's say, the first couple hundred units to be built, and then those units will be used. And of course, I have to be very clear about the accounting. We will use strict accounting. We will abide by international development rules. So we can't just take the money and create some sort of like pyramid scheme, because some developments try to do that. We can only use the profits towards future developments. So in any case, the whole idea is that this will be gradually built over the years, and that we will have the necessary funding. And once we have the investment, once we have the first couple of hundreds of units built, then we can easily get investment for the next couple hundred units, right? But for the first couple hundred units, we have the funding in place. We can't, fund, let's say, $10 billion up front, because you have to do this gradually. So for the first hundreds of units, we have funding that's in place. And when that's successful, we will then start building the next from that, if that makes sense. But again, always by standards.
Yes. So for the general public who are listening and those who are watching, so for the first phase, what do you have to? How much residents you expect to build in the first zone, and what will be the cost of? Like I know back in the 90s, Four Seasons was set to cost $300 million. So what is your present cost for the first zone? That funding you have presently ready to go?
Yeah, so we want to be very careful and conservative when we start. So we don't want to flood the market with 1,000 villas, right? This is not in our advantage. So we will only have a small amount of villas initially that we will build and sell. And then after those are sold, we will start building the next. So we're building in neighborhoods, which means, and there's not 6 zones, it's only one zone, right? There's no 6 zones. It's just one. Destiny is only one area. It's not spread around.
Yeah, but on the layout, how we have everything designed, like we don't have we call it those homes when you go play golf and different stuff. We call those again. You have about 8 of them within that zone. The clubhouses, which was in this the zone 6, and then we have the hot springs and area and stuff like that, where there will be the spa. That was in a different zone. Because I tend to sit at the front of the class and pay attention. So can you say not 6 zones? So because the Premier had also mentioned, when he mentioned zones, he had mentioned there'll be no more than 2 or 3 zones. But then I realized there's 6 zones. But so why 6 zones then? But you say it's one. But on the paper that Mr. Brand shows, there are different numbers within the chart they call. So I'm just saying.
Yeah. Of course, you have Destiny Destiny is the whole area, right? This is the area, and then we subdivide that in phases. You have phases. That's why they are numbered.
Yes.
Or we also call them zones, but it's not like it's separate. It's one contingent area, and there's like subdivisions in zones. Yes, exactly. So we can call zone 4 is more towards the middle between Saddle Hill and Long Point Port, right? That's where the first zone 4, can call it that like that, will be. But even that zone is split up into neighborhoods, right? A neighborhood can be hotel branded, it can be just private. We were definitely in advanced discussions with several hotel brands, very, very good, luxurious brands. We made it very far. They're very interested. I can't disclose those names yet because we also need to have some guarantees and agreements signed. But basically, the first zone will be, let's say, the first neighborhood will be around 50 villas. We will sell that neighborhood, and then in the months after that, we will start selling the next neighborhood, and that's how we will incrementally grow in zone 4. And then once that's completed, yes.
So what is the budget for the first zone with the combination with the 50 villas and the amenities? How much? What amount do you expect within that time frame? Within the first years. So what is the budget for that? What is the budget amount? Usually there is a budget upon completion from start to finish, and then people start to move in and live within and stuff like that. So what is the budget which you say you have available for that, ready for that first zone?
You mean the funding that's required, or?
Yes, exactly, yes. The reason I'm asking this question is to make sure that the project don't need our money. Can usually have projects come here and then they tend to come to the National Bank or CBI and different areas, and then they end up with funding the projects. So that's what we're trying to understand. But as you said, it's a CBI project. So I'm still wondering if what you said.
No, we're not getting money from the CBI program, right? We're only giving money towards the CBI program. Yeah, but being very clear, we're not getting anything. We're not doing loans from banks. We have for the question maybe is more, okay, how much do you need cash wise to be able to do the first neighborhood? It's about $50 million to do the first neighborhood of 50 villas that we need to do the cash to build, right? But
yes,
that's what we have planned. I mean
all right.
There's other things that come into play. It's not just 50 million because the capex will be. But I mean, just what is required as an investment from investors basically is 50 million for the first neighborhood. I'm not going to go into exact details about how much everything costs. But
yes. Upon starting the project, I know you have to build out a town where you need people who maybe important people living in the environment. So housing, water, energy. So where the water gonna come from, where the energy gonna come from? Kind of listening in the video, as I said, there was a release yesterday and you mentioned you'll use generators, which I don't see that being efficient enough. Water, I mean, so are you gonna tap into our source temporarily? And how long will that be?
No, the answer is no. We don't want to be any strain on Nevis, right? We're not going to use any water or power. That's definitely not the goal. What I said yesterday, because the question was asked yesterday in a Q&A, which actually was not earlier. It was just a broadcast of the Q&A that happened the week before, right? But anyway, the power, what I said yesterday, the question was, okay, are you going to be a strain on Nevis in terms of power or water? And my answer was no. Of course, but to build, you need power. And I said, while we build, let's say, the first, we put batteries in place, we have a solar field, stuff like that, we need some power, but we can easily provide that with diesel for the first construction phase. But we do have a contractual requirement, and also, thanks to the SSD Act, we are required to have 70% come from renewable energies, right? Of course, what I also said yesterday was this: you cannot suddenly have renewable energies overnight, right? The geothermal plant is not finished yet, so we can't use that one either. And if we do use a geothermal, Nevis comes first, right? And we're still part of Nevis, but I mean, we're not going to take anything from you, and because I really care a lot about Nevis. And I don't want to be a strain, and we will not be a strain. So we will have temporarily some diesel that we need to use to build stuff, but we will then switch to solar. And also, I'm very much into this self-sustainable neighborhoods, which means every house will have solar panel roofs and solar panels as much as we can. We will even cover the roads with solar panels. We will have battery banks. So we're hoping that will be enough to be self-sustaining for every neighborhood. So it's like an individual self-sustaining unit in its own. The water will also be similarly generated. We won't take from the existing water supply. We will make sure we use rainwater. And there's like the whole plan, which was already made public, but will be made completely public soon. Done by WSP, and other firms that basically show the calculations they made is they concluded that rainwater and everything that we can collect together with pooling that into what do you call it, like ponds, and that's probably the wrong word, but we have some water reservoirs, right? And that will be enough to supply the whole area of Destiny with water. And like I also said yesterday, and hopefully when we do have more supply than we need, we would be happy to also supply that back towards Nevis, so you can also enjoy that. And we won't do that with like massive profits. We will do that.
Yes. When we're speaking on water, because the video that was shown with the premiere video of Destiny, with going all to the villas and stuff like that. Those lakes in front of us. What are those swimming pools? Are lakes actually running through the villas and build? Those are lakes, is it?
The villa itself, the villas. I don't know which one you talk about, but the villas have pools, right? Of course, most villas have pools. But we have lakes in between, and those lakes are also.
Yes, that's what I meant. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the lakes. So the lakes, as you realize, water is really something precious around here. So where are those water going to come from to fill those lakes and stuff like that? How are we going to get all those water? And also, remember
my good people, I got to tell my boy Banky, I think he needs to take a step back from the front of the class, because he's asking Mr. Jansen about how the fund's going to come about to build these villas if they're going to need our money. The CBI dollars is our money, banking. They're going to use our money to build these villas if they give them the opportunity. That is what the conversation is. They're going to seed a few dollars up front to build 1 or 2 villas, and those sales will then build the other villas. That is what they're saying. Like I said, it's their destiny, not our destiny. Now let's move on to clip number 4.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll explain. Right, there's two sides to that. So you have the government, right, and we have us. And if we fail to meet certain goals or standards, or we fail to meet, we have to pay, and we actively have to work with that. For example, we have a capex that we have to meet. We have to do a spend or an investment into Nevis every year for a certain amount of money. And I'm not talking about the 50 million. I'm talking about, because of the white elephants, we have to build a certain for a certain amount of money. Let's say $100 million worth of property has to be built in this amount of time. The year after that, it has to become 200 million, right? This is how it increases year by year. If we fail to meet those goals, so there will be penalties by us to be paid. This is an active requirement for Destiny to meet goals. This will cost us a lot of effort to make sure we meet those. If we don't meet goals, then we'll have to pay. Fees or fines. From the government side, this is very different, right? With the government, this whole rumor about government paying $23 billion or whatever was going around, it's completely false. That's not true. I don't even know where that number came from. The risk for Destiny and for any special sustainability zone like Dubai, the IFC, whatever, if any point in the future the government decides to basically go to parliament and vote and rescind or what do you call it, destroy the act itself for Destiny, right, that was in place, or the agreement. If the government says we're removing that, well, you have to understand, like, the reason why Destiny becomes so valuable is because it's a special sustainability zone with special rules. That's why special sustainability zones around the whole world are very valuable. If it suddenly says those rules no longer apply there, and it's all gone, and you just become, I don't know, like you have to start paying taxes, stuff like that. This is not what we agreed to, but that requires active effort from the government to come in and say, we're now going to destroy your zone, right? But this is very important to know as a background or the context for this. The government doesn't have to do anything.
So what will be?
Let me finish for a second. So
go ahead. Go ahead.
If the government signs an agreement with us tomorrow, it gets ratified in Parliament, and everyone approves, and it's in place. We have all these commitments we have to abide by. The only thing the government cannot do is go back on its word and now say this zone is from now on destroyed. If that happens, and that's the only thing they cannot do right in the future, is singularly, like only from their side, unilaterally decide we're going to destroy the zone, right? Because then all the value of the zone that has been invested becomes not worthless, becomes devalued significantly overnight. At that point, the government will have to pay damages, right? What are those damages? Right now, that's set to be based on the capex we spent, if I'm correct. I have to double check. But that basically means if let's say we invested $1 billion into the zone or $100 million, right? Then that will be the calculation method to see which damages the government has to pay. The 23 billion is not true, right? If for example, next week after the zone would be approved and passed in Parliament, and we spent $1 million on the zone, and then the government decides to rip up the whole agreement in pieces, then they would have to pay maybe $2 million, right? Twice the money we spend, right? And that's the way we are discussing it right now. But again, all of that will become public in Parliament. You can look at it, you can give feedback. But again, I have to emphasize that it would require an active destruction from the government to make that happen, right?
So, my good people, you heard it there. Once this agreement is signed by the government and we get rid of them, and the new government take office and decide that we want to repeal that agreement, Destiny is expecting to get some good money out of the country. This is why we have to ensure that we stop these bad actors before they make that mistake of signing that agreement. Let's drop clip number 5. Mr. Jensen continues.
Yeah, it's a very good question. We actually were always open, but there's always these agreements. They take a long time to negotiate, right? It's also for us a bit of a problem because we're talking to the government, we're discussing possibilities. How much money are we going to pay? Is it 50 million? Stuff like that, right? Also, these things evolve over many months, right? And we can't really go to the public yet unless we have some sort of there's nothing signed yet, but that government and us are sort of getting aligned, sort of like agreeing, yes, this is okay for us, right? At that point, we can then disclose potentially, because it's always tricky. You have to understand we're the first development ever that goes public with the agreement, right? This has never happened before. When the Four Seasons came, no one has ever seen that agreement. I'm not aware of it. So we have to be careful because we're in active negotiations with the government. It's also a bit of a balance. How much can we disclose to the public? But once we agree with the government, they will be paid $50 million. At that point, the government is not going to say, no, we don't want 50 anymore. We want 10. So at least we can tell the people, okay, the government is getting 50 million. What I then propose to the government is, I would also like to share with you 20% of our profits. They didn't ask for that, but I want to give back to Nevis. That's also why I told the government we want to share 5% with the people directly, because I want to give back to Nevisians, because this is Nevis. I don't want to take from them, I want to give back. And I really mean that. People seem not to believe it, but I think it's a huge part of the project that we're giving back to you. You're part of this development. No development in the world that I'm aware of has ever just given 5% of the profits to the people, right? But anyway, those things we tell the government, we have some back and forth. But yes, I did see a lot of misinformation spreading around. And I don't blame people for that, by the way. I respect that. I'm also very skeptical myself, because if you don't have information, you start filling in those gaps yourself, right? You start thinking, oh, but what about this and this and this? And then you start making up all like these or you start looking on the internet and you come to the wrong conclusion, and that's fine. It's also on us not to be transparent enough, but we also always have to balance when. That's why I also released a video, I don't know when it was, September or October, with the details, like the 15-minute video on the Destiny.com website. And the government has been doing some communication, but it was clear that we also have to be very much involved now with the people. And that's exactly what we did. Also, when I really want to make a call to the people today, say, look, if you have any questions, please contact us, right? We have email contact information at the bottom of the website. We're going to do more interviews. We're also planning a town hall or a conference ourselves with Nivisions very soon, where you can come and ask your questions. But if you have any questions or concerns in the meanwhile, please contact us. There's nothing secret about it from our side. Again, we don't have a signed agreement, so everything I say, you have to take with a grain of salt, because if I say the government is going to get 50 million, but tomorrow they ask for 60 million, it might still change, right? So for me, it's very delicate to tell you everything because we don't have a signed agreement. But the most important part to take away, right? And I will share as much as you that I can, that we have right now on the table, is that anything we agree to in the end will be put in front of Parliament, and you will have full transparency and visibility before this law is passed, right? You can have open debates all you want before the agreement is passed in Parliament. So there will definitely be a place or a time in the future, hopefully in a couple of weeks, where we agree with the government, okay, this is the final agreement, now they're going to Parliament, now we're going to discuss with people exactly what's in there, what are your concerns, and then the government and you can say, okay, we want it or not, right? That's it.
Mr. Jansen, I hear that, right? And I heard, when I listened to the repeat presentation yesterday, you mentioned that, as you were just alluding to, you want this thing to be done and you're looking for it to be done even before January. You don't really want it to go over into next year. You want, to come to this end of the agreement and the government go into the House and deal with this. Now, however, there's seemingly a serious pushback from the people, and there's a lot of people who seemingly don't want this project. Now, here's a question. Would you be opposed to the government holding a referendum to see if the people really want this Destiny project? And if that would be welcomed, and let's say at the end of the referendum, the people say no, would you at this point be willing to accept that and, move on and say, okay, well, the people of Nevis don't want this project? And
yeah, let me get back to the pushback first, right? Because the problem right now is that all this pushback is not really based on facts. It is based on rumors, and rumors can go pretty far. I've heard rumors about 10,000 libertarians coming. This is completely false. There's no 10,000 libertarians coming to take over Nevis, right? And I'm not trying to make a joke out of it, although to me this is a joke. These are genuine concerns from people, but they need to be addressed. And right now people have all these ideas, right, which are so wrong, because, yeah, for sure, I'm a libertarian, but, you might be a conservative or a liberal. I don't really care. But that doesn't mean suddenly 10,000 liberals will come to your project if you create a project, right? It's not true at all. I mean, and a libertarian, I think, is pretty moderate in terms of what they want. They're just for civil rights. But I mean, that's a different story. But anyway, if you have all the information and all the facts, and then you can make a judgment call, I think it's up to the government. It's not for me to organize a referendum or organize one. I think it's up to the government.
Sorry.
I understand, but I think it's just up to look. You elected your politicians, right? And you want them to do a good job. And I think it's up to the politicians to look at all the data, all the facts, look at the agreement, see what the people think about it, go to the people, ask their feedback, take that all into account, and then they can pass or not pass the bill based on what people say, right? And it might mean and I think it's great, right? Have an open process. I'm all for that. So when the agreement gets put in front of Parliament, people can comment on it all they want. They can debate it in Parliament. The opposition can debate it, And then they can say, yeah, we like that, but we don't like that. What can we do about it? And then maybe you can all come to an agreement, and then we can say, yeah, okay, is this acceptable for everyone? Yeah, or most people? Yes, okay, let's pass it. A referendum is a whole different story, and I can't really, that's a government thing to decide, right? Referendums are not like that easy to do, right? It's a whole process.
Well,
it can take like a very long period of time. Yeah,
I think you answered my question, because I didn't ask you to do the referendum. I asked if you would be opposed of them doing it, and you said that you would not be opposed of them doing it. So that's where
I can't answer that if I'm opposed or not. Like, the problem with referendums is, right, a lot of people don't spend the time to look into all the little details, right? They're just going to feel emotionally about something and they're going to vote. So referendums are very tricky and sometimes dangerous. I think it's really up to the government to have that discussion internally. That's why you have elected representatives, because almost no one in St. Kitts and Nevis, all the laws that are passed, like which Kittitian or Nevisian spends the time reading the law and bothering with that? This is not your job, right? I mean, I would support it, by the way, because I like the idea of direct democracy. I'm in full support of that, but it also requires a lot of investment to look at these things, right? So I'm worried about the referendum being held, that it will be more an emotional decision than a decision based on facts. That's why I think it's important for a government to make that decision on proposals themselves and have feedback from the people, right? So it's a bit of a, I'm not saying I'm for or against it. I'm just hoping the government will do a good job at looking at the agreement, and of course we are, because they're approaching them on a daily basis, but then also incorporating feedback from the people, feedback from the opposition, to work on it. Oh, by the way, talking about the opposition, right? For me, this is not like a project which is CCM or whatever, or NRP. I'm outside of that, right? So we also invited the opposition. We invited the NRP to come already, like, I don't know, maybe a week or more than a week ago. Because we are starting to do Q&As, right? So we had already 2 Q&A sessions. The second one we will also broadcast very soon. But we invited NRP to come over, and unfortunately, they haven't, come yet. But we reminded them, and then the reply was, Chairman was going to reply to us soon. I really hope, and I really ask the NRP, if they're listening, please meet with us and tell us your concerns, because we want to talk about those concerns, right? Also, we want to give people the facts, and the NRP the facts. So we are very worried right now that we bring something very beautiful, very, very amazing to Nevis. And people think, oh no, it's going to be a 10,000 libertarian takeover. And I'm like, no, not at all. We want to be a family resort. We want to attract families. We don't want to attract 10,000 libertarians, right? We want to attract 10,000 families, right?
So, my good people, again, the more I listen to this gentleman presenting, and the more I listen to our representatives, is the more reason I am saying that the deception was too much. The lies. As you heard the gentleman said, this kind of planning and everything that has went into this thing thus far took years of planning, not from July 5th to December 2025. It took years of planning. This matter been going on for a very long time. So the simple fact that our representatives that we elect to take care of our country and our citizens have been misleading us all this time, it's time for us to stand up to these people and let them know St. Kitts and Nevis is not for sale. They want to come and be a part of us, they are welcome. St. Kitts Nevis is not for sale. As we continue with the clip number 6.
Your answer, how long have you been with discussion with the NIA about this project? And when you have put the final documents, say, well, we have a project, this is a project completely, yeah, we're ready to go. How long have you been in conversation with? Yes.
I'll happily give you the timeline, but let me answer that question first, right? So, we're still in negotiations. Nothing is guaranteed to be passed.
What I'm saying, when the first time you went to the NIA about a project, when did you tell them about this project? And then when they present them, well, we have everything ready to date. So everything is all the EIA have been finished, all the eggs in this basket, and the funding is there. When was that proposal put to them? So when was the first discussion and the final discussion?
Allow me to answer Jason's question, and I will answer your timeline question. I will not forget it, okay? So in terms of the parliament, you say the opposition and the current federal which are elected, and that's what do you call them? Not the opposition. They're both sort of, you think, they're both on board with this. Well, we're still negotiating with them, right? Also, these are your elected representatives, right? That means the question really is like, do you elect the people to lead and make you these decisions, right? Or these are the right people that are put in place? Some people will say, no, I don't like them. Other people will say, yes, I like them. That's how elections work. Now, the question is, if they're both already on board, like it's a done deal. No, this is not true. If it was a done deal, it was already been done, like, I don't know, in the past, months ago, right? We're still negotiating, every day almost about details. And this is very important, then it goes to parliament. I want to discuss already today with the opposition, right? Before this even goes to parliament, I want to have discussions with everyone and be open. This is also why I'm here with you. I'm proposing the facts that we already have discussed with the government without, having the full agreement out there, but like a lot of things which are very important and critical, I want to talk about. But the whole idea is that this agreement will be aired in parliament. The opposition can give their feedback. They can give concerns. The people can give feedback and their concerns. Then the government, which is elected today, can take all those concerns into account, adjust the agreement, approve the agreement, abandon the agreement. It's up to them, right? I can't. But I hope they make a right decision because, and I do think, and of course I'm very biased, right? What we have in front of us today is extremely beneficial for St. Kitts and Nevis. Like, I don't really see any sort of risk. People might think there's a lot of risk, but I really want to have everything presented, the agreement, and people look at it and think, okay, this is not as bad as I thought it was. Or maybe they think, I don't like it at all, right? But at least we can have a discussion. And the government can also look at what people think and make a final decision based on that. And once we have had those public debates and discussions when all the agreements are made public, then it's up to the government, of course, to decide. And I don't know, I hope that answers your question, right? I mean, it's not a perfect world. It's not a direct democracy, right? I already gave my opinion about referendums. I'm also not against them. It's just a question of, if you do a referendum, you want to make sure people really understand all the facts in front of them, right? And when going to the timeline, so I also mentioned that in the Q&A yesterday, but you have to know about negotiations. They take a very long time, and an idea like this doesn't take place overnight. So we first started buying or optioning land I'm ballparking here, about 20 months ago, right? No one knew about it. The Premier didn't know about it. The real estate agents didn't know about it. We just started getting options on land. And then that was well before we told anyone, because we were trying to see, can we assemble enough land to make this happen, right? And then once we were getting more confident, we also went to the Premier, right? And this was in the summer of last year, 2024, where we first started having talks about this project. And we had, it's not black and white. It didn't suddenly come overnight. We were just having discussions. And then it became concrete enough for the Premier to publicly comment on this at the start of the summer of this year, right? Where he said, look, now they have large enough of land. We're getting more concrete. Now we can, well, I'm not putting words in his mouth, but more or less he said, like, look, now it's serious enough for me to consider this as something really viable, right? And that's when
Jensen, I wanted to interject something here, because I guess for the listening public, sometimes when we speak, it's best to put certain things into context and some of the transparency. the real estate person that you speak of, or the real estate company, seemingly it's one real estate agency that is was mainly responsible for that land search that you were talking about. And it happens to be an agency run by the wife of the Premier. How coincidental is that it's her, and you're saying that they didn't even know what you were doing in terms of buying the lands?
No, they didn't, and we didn't tell them, right? So, of course, it became clear after a while, but initially we didn't tell anyone, including real estate agents that we work with, what it was for. No, we just started optioning land. And also you have to realize Nevis has about 12,000 people, right? It's not like there's 100 real estate agencies, right? There's only a couple that you can work with, and a couple of them are very qualified, right? There's not like 100 you can choose from. With the best agencies, and that's it. It's not because.
So what was the reason? What was the reason for not
of conflict of interest in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, if the smaller your population becomes, the more you always have risk for a conflict of interest. If you have like 1,000 people living on an island, everyone knows everyone. It's always fully conflict of interest, right? If you're a small population, like 10,000 people, you'll always have some potential conflict of interest because maybe your brother is in parliament. It's very hard for us to avoid because we didn't choose real estate agents based on the connections, right? We just chose them for the qualities. And I mean, that it's also, and just take this a step further, right? Even if there was like a conflict of interest, right? There's no, I mean, you still have a cabinet to work with. The cabinet will look at that, right? So it's going to be not looked at by one person, who is the king of this thing, right? It's many other people. If somehow this would not be a sound proposal because the real estate agent involved that had a potential conflict of interest, which I never played out in any way, right? Then, yeah, of course, you will still have so many people that still have to approve that. So it's not like you have a king and then he decides. This is not the case. So I would be less concerned because there's so many eyes on this that this is not the case, right? And I can tell you honestly, there's nothing there, right? I'm very careful because I know, like political influence, stuff like that. I'm very worried about that. We don't want to go there. So we don't touch that. We're just, okay.
So my good people, again, as I listen to this gentleman speak, you can see the gaps. And my training with the NYPD have taught me is not to focus too much on what the perp is saying. Focus on what they're not saying. They cannot even keep the story straight. Cannot even keep it straight because he knows that he been having conversation with the Premier and whoever else long before this year. Let's move on to clip number 7.
Yes, quick question for Mr. Jensen. You just mentioned that an office will be opened on the island of St. Kitts and one on Nevis as well for Destiny. My question is related to that. Have you had any discussions with the federal government about Destiny? And when did those discussions begin? Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course we had discussions with the governments. I mean, with both of them, right? So as I mentioned, with the Premier, the initial ideas were discussed in 2024 in the summer, and then they took more shape. It became more serious, and then we had enough land, and it was serious enough to go public. Summer 2025, sort of the summer 2025, right? But of course, yeah, we have been talking to the governments, and we will continue to do so, of course. In terms of the offices, yeah, so these offices will be job job offices and for other purposes. If people have questions about the project, they can come in, they can ask them. We want to be very transparent. As I said, please contact us, ask us all your questions. We have nothing to hide, and even if we would have something to hide, it will still become public in a parliamentary session. But again, we do not have anything to hide. I'm actually happy to be here because I want to address all the concerns of people, right? I know so much stuff going around.
So my good people, as you hear the Prime Minister and the AG said to keep them out of this thing, it is very clear you heard Mr. Olivier Jensen saying that he has been in discussion with both the local NIA and the federal government, both governments, for some time now. So why the lies? Why? I know that they're not capable of telling the truth, but something as serious as this, why do this to our beloved Federation? Clip number 8, my people. As much as we're getting close to the end of this podcast, I just want to drop in as much as possible. So clip number 8, Mr. Jensen.
Shall I go to the first? Because I wrote them all down. The first question was...
yes, go ahead, please. Yes, go ahead.
How much money was invested up to date? I would say at least $20 million, probably more. By now, 25. Because as you see, the development plans and the master plans we presented are very advanced. They cost a lot of money. We already have a lot of research done in the area and all the data surrounding that. Has the contract been signed yet? No, there's no contract been signed yet, which already mentioned, right, the agreement. If there's an agreement signed, it will appear first in front of Parliament for everyone to look at, judge it, and only when Parliament approves it in Parliament, an agreement will be activated. Right? That's the way it is right now.
The second part of the question was what happens if the government does not sign or does not agree, and you have already spent all that money? What happens?
That's the risk of doing a project like that. It's unfortunate that we will have to go somewhere else, right? We have other places in the Caribbean that are potentially candidates, but I'm loyal to Nevis and I would love to do it here. I think the worst thing that would happen is that we go somewhere else, it becomes a huge success, and everyone's like, okay, we should have done this. I'm like, yeah, I tried to tell you, but I want to avoid that. I really want to have people give all the facts. They can look at them objectively, judge on their own, and then they can say, we like it, we don't like it. As again, nothing has been signed yet. We'll be fully transparent. You can judge everything as you like. And you're the judge, and of course the government has to then approve it or not, right?
So my good people, I would leave it there for now with Mr. Olivier Jensen. I think I have provided enough information from the developer, thanks to the man Banky and Mr. Yoshan for that interview. I have heard Banky made reference last evening to why no other podcasters, media houses had interviewed Mr. Jensen. This DJ would not waste time and interview Mr. Jensen about anything because I have yet to leave July 5th, 2025, that town hall meeting. The lies, I still waiting to get clarity and what transpired there. All I need is the facts from Premier Brantley and the Prime Minister and the AG. Once they can tell me the reason for all of this deception, then I could move on to the other stuff. So I have not moved as yet, Brother Banky. So thanks for those clips, because I myself personally would not interview this gentleman because Nevis don't need this. St. Kitts don't need this. Now we're going to take a quick run across here to the Freedom FM and see what my boy there, Brother Ira McMahon, have to say. Because, the AG don't like to hear from neither Ira McMahon or the DJ.
And let's move on quickly. Good afternoon. You're live.
Good afternoon. It's unfortunate that the Attorney General has presented the Fires Bay issue in such, ostensibly in such stark terms as, do you want a Ritz-Carlton with all its jobs, etc., or shacks on the beach, right? I mean, I pay attention to social media and talk shows and so on. I don't hear many, if any, people saying that they would not like to have a Ritz-Carlton here. And why can't there be a happy medium where these going concerns that have been there for some time are either compensated in some way for having to move, rather by moving them elsewhere or just giving them some kind of monetary compensation, right? Or integrate them into the design of the new property, right? I don't know if the setbacks from the water line can accommodate these bars, but look at what's happened in Pinnis Beach, where Four Seasons, which is high end as well, you have bars there that are accommodated, and they live in pretty good harmony, I think. Okay, so I don't like the impression given that the government is facilitating developers and at the expense of local people. And no, I noticed too that the same kind of thing was done with the special sustainability zones. The Attorney General didn't mention it.
Because we didn't have time this afternoon, but we'll get to that. He'll be back this month.
But the thing is, the Premier made it sound like, well, it's going to be 4 seasons plus, as opposed to leaving Nevis in wasteland. It's just the whole perception of the government in its haste to attract foreign investment, because it has not been so successful in the past, is desperate to appease these investors, and when in fact their prime interest should be taking care of the voters who, well, are the ordinary people with businesses and so on, who they're actually working for. They voted.
So, Mr. McMahon, you are against foreign direct investment that will create jobs for the voters. That's what you're saying?
Wait. When did I say that? I'm sure I said I didn't hear.
You said that the government is trying to bend over backwards for private developers.
I'm sure I said that the perception is that the government is trying to bend over backwards to appease foreign investors, okay, at the expense of local people with businesses here. And I'm saying
the government doesn't own the land, Mr. McMahon.
No. But the government regulates, okay?
And it doesn't own the land that the squatters are on.
But I'm saying.
So what is the bend over backwards mechanism?
The developers cannot do anything on that property without sanctions having the permission of whether it's the building board or whoever else. Okay? So that's what I'm saying.
But is that bending over backwards, giving planning permission? I'm trying to understand what is the extra that you're suggesting that the government is doing, that is the bending over backwards at the detriment of people. That's what I'm trying to understand.
Didn't the government serve notice that the bars should be removed?
No, the developer did. The government wrote a letter when it was suggested by the lawyers for the bar owners that they were not on the private property, they were on the public beach. The letter went to explain that the private beach is vested in the government, in the Crown, for the use of the general public, not for commercial activity. So even if they were on the beach, they had no permission to be there.
Right.
The notice to quit was issued by the landowners, who are private entity.
Right. So was it in fact established that these bars were on the owner's property, on the developer's property?
Yes, by the very leases that the bar owners signed in 2017.
Okay, because when we look at them, I mean, we know the bars. When we look at them, they seem to be virtually on the beach. But anyway.
Okay, Mr. McMahon, we are out of time.
Right.
So my good people, again, the AG is very misleading in that response to Mr. McMahon. I took the opportunity and went across to Friars Bay, visit those bars owners, those bar and the owners. And it is clear that those bars are on Crown land, not private land. So the AG need to check his stats and come back again. it is alleged that those billboards over there across from Ross University, where they propose smart hospital to be built, is on private lands. What are they doing about that? And I don't need to allege anything with this next clip. I'm going to play it. Hear it for yourself. This is not alleged. This is factual. This is our AG and Hinge going after his neighbor.
Good afternoon.
Fred, I am extremely disappointed to hear that you are telling people stupidness about me and my wife. Do not cross the fucking line. Do not cross the fucking line.
What are you talking about?
Because I will deal with it in court, Reggie. Do not call my fucking name and my wife's fucking name to anybody. You hear me?
I don't know if that's
Do not fucking call my name and my wife's name to somebody.
all
Do
right.
not do it.
All right.
Now, in my view, when an AG gonna call a citizen's phone carrying out with all those F, my boy Reggie should just call me to respond to the AG for him if he don't know how to use those words, because I grew up with a grandfather that used to spell and pronounce. He's very good at those words, and I became very good at them myself. So I could have definitely helped our brother Reggie with a few of those choice words. Now, we are running out of time, but since it's my last podcast for the year, unless something pops up, I have to drop this one as well. Inside the news with the man Chessie Hamilton and his host.
We call into question.
No, I'm going to say something. One is innocent until proven otherwise, meaning
Yes.
proven guilty. We have a situation here in this federation where we have a number of high-level officials within the Jew administration who have been charged and brought before the magistrate court. Well, nobody is saying anything about this. The DPP made certain pronouncements, but this thing is in my view, it's not good.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Well, I wasn't aware of this. This is good. This is news to me now.
I mean, during the last 3 years, there have been 2 magistrates charged and brought before the court, whether it's under the integrity in public life legislation or not. You have 2 magistrates charged and brought before the court. And when you see a magistrate name on the voters list, and I mean on the court list, and an offense next to it, I don't even want to call the offense name.
Yeah.
You understand? But the list is a public thing. You can't have those kind of things happening. That's one, right? 2 magistrates. You have a lawyer charged with, among other things, money laundering, corrupting the course of justice, all kind of different things, right? You had another lawyer died with about 5 charges hanging over her head.
Wow.
Right? Well, she wasn't a part of the Jew administration, but then you had 2 permanent secretaries before the court last week, charged again. These are high officials. I mean, a permanent secretary, in the US you call him secretary of this, and in the US you call him secretary of state and secretary of that. In Canada, a PS is a deputy minister. They call them deputy ministers. So when I say high official, I really mean high officials. When this is the sort of thing that is happening, if somebody level a wide sweeping brush against the administration and say the Terrence Jew-led administrations are corrupt administration, they only have to point to those charges.
Wow. Yeah. I see.
They don't need anything more. They say, well, look here, people. And no, so one is innocent until proven otherwise, and I raise that. But if there is a prima facie, a case on the face of it, on the face of the documents, it may not be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. It may not be proven to whatever. But could one, based on that, begin to say the accumulating effect is that there is a corrupt administration? Something needs to be done. Something needs to be said. When you're talking about transparency, you understand? You had an ambassador being suspended for all manner of things that they say happen within the Prime Minister's office. And if these charges are charges that supposed to go before the magistrate, and normally these charges are for the time period on these charges are less than 6 months or less. When more than 6 months done gone, this person is still on leave, not charged with anything. What is going on? So I said all of that in answering the question that in certain other jurisdiction, the person will do the honorable thing, step aside, resign,
That is what
let
was in my
the
mind.
justice system take its course, right?
Yes, that was in my mind.
In saying it, sometimes some of these people are put on half pay, suspended with half pay, or suspended with full pay. You understand? But there's no consistency. Sometimes the lesser man is asked to go and struggle on half pay, but the high officials is on full pay, or many times they're still on the job, even though they are charged. With consistency, that's what I'm asking for. You remember last week I was using a word called universality? I believe in treating people equitably, fairly. I didn't say equally. Remember, I didn't say equally. You cannot treat the man with no feet and the man with feet the same way and say you're treating them equally. You have to treat them equitably. So, you won't want the man with feet to walk up the stairs to come here. But the man without feet, you will have to provide a ramp, an elevator, an escalator, something for him to get up to the next level. And that is equitable treatment. I believe in equity. I don't always believe in equality. Sometimes to treat unequals equally is to discriminate. And people must understand that. Let me repeat it. To treat unequals equally is to discriminate. You need to.
So, my good people, that was a clip there by the man Chelsea Hamilton inside the news. But I'm going to join across here by Freedom FM and take a quick listen to my cousin there, Dr. Martin, Sam Kanda, and Jamie, because we are campaigning 2022 and gave a gift to the Juliet Labour Administration 6 parliamentarian seats and gave them the government. And to date, with all the damage that this Prime Minister has done to this country, even his strong supporter, Sam Kanda and Dr. Martin, is crying out that they're struggling to win even 2 seats if election was to call now. So let's take a listen.
I think we have a people who are paying attention. In those comments, most of the comments, people are paying attention to the ebb and flow of the political arena, because that's where the political leaders come from. And I firmly believe, and I'm open to be challenged, that the days of the loyal section, the must win, must vote for me, those days are diminishing.
They're gone.
Well,
That's right.
that's right. Well,
The electorate has changed.
I could have argued up until the 1990s that both PAM and Labour had a 40%, 30%, 40% loyal following. I don't see that
No.
anymore, and that in the electorate, in the body of the electorate, there is a 60-70% whose vote has to be sought. Notice I didn't say bought. Sought. And so this both.
The political parties get support when they deserve it.
And I forgot the author of this. Another person
We don't
said,
know that to be a fact because Trump won.
well, he won fairly.
We don't know if he deserved it.
Well, he won
but
fairly.
won.
The elections are won and lost by people who show up to vote, and he got his people out.
Elections have consequences.
And so the persons who have this must-win mentality in their head, I wish to have a conversation with them, because I don't accept that there's any must-win anyway. We have to fight.
And the politicians have to do their work.
Have to fight.
They have, and there are no. Well, apart from maybe constituency 6, there are no safe seats in St. Kitts and Nevis. Well, let me not speak for Nevis, but there are no safe seats in St. Kitts anymore.
Yeah, man.
Which one?
6 and
Yeah,
3.
that's what I said. 3?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know about that.
Well,
but 6 maybe.
I think. Well, I'm going to end by saying it's going to be a very, very hot topic when these boundaries change.
Yeah.
The boundaries changing?
When there's boundaries
Well,
changing.
they have to change.
Well, we join the boundaries.
Yeah. They have
make
to
them
change.
constitutional. I
We are
think
still
all
waiting
bets
on that.
all bets are off. We have
Still
a
waiting
new
on that.
calculus,
Yeah.
and so again, I want to end by saying, we the people, the electorate, have to insist on the political parties that they put up the best people to run, because we cannot afford idiots in Church Street. And where's the NIA located? And Charlestown. Cannot afford that.
Mr. Conda, any final words?
Yeah, I think these are really interesting times.
Very.
And people think, I think people don't give politics and politicians the credit and the admiration and think that is due. I say that this is something that I enjoy doing and will do it again.
You would?
I would do it again.
He has not thrown in the towel, that's what he said.
I will do it. Not now, not I'll
No,
go
I
back to
understand. I understand.
In a new life.
I don't know
new
what
self
Dr.
conduct.
Martin was trying to do, but I understood what you meant.
That's the thing. And this is an honorable thing. This is a good thing. And people have to learn to differentiate between service to the people and parasites. I mean,
do we have a lot of parasites in politics?
I always saying that the most sacred duty of a citizen is to vote. Without government, life will be nasty, short, and brutish.
But I can.
There's nothing wrong with the politics. It is the people who are involved.
I can also understand that sometimes people become disenchanted with politicians, as the person wrote that. The person wrote that all the politicians bad.
Yeah,
no,
all the
right?
politicians.
But people have that notion that a lot of times people enter politics not for the good that they can do for the people, but the good that they can do for themselves.
Absolutely.
Right? So that makes people not really want to go out to vote. So it is the politician's job and the job of conversations such as these to educate people about the importance of making the right decision.
Something, and we're talking about the resignation.
We're still speaking on the adjournment.
Yeah, my good people. So that is a conversation there with my good cousin there, Dr. Martin, finally telling the truth about what is taking place, the man Sam Conda and Jamie. But I was even more impressed with Junie a few days later when he also had a lovely closing. Stand by.
Letter that Rudy Val penned and that you shared with us just now. But what I want to share with you in closing is that we are supposed to be a democratic country.
Yeah.
When politicians are in opposition, they're all for the people, of the people, by the people, all of that.
Yeah, to get into government.
There you go. But from the time you get in, you forget the people.
Yeah.
At times, it seems to me.
Yeah.
And that town halls, which were, before you get into office, you're having meetings here, there, and everywhere, because you want to get elected. Once you're elected, you tend to not want to see so many meetings, or it doesn't happen anyway. But I think that politicians should give back to the community by having town halls monthly. Whatever you want to share with people, share to them at the town hall, because people will come out to town halls because they feel a part of the government. I feel that in this case, the SSZ zone should have been special sustainability zone should have been shared with the people before it got to Parliament. I think that something should have been done at that level to involve the people, because you're people's government, you're a democratic government, and this is what democracy is all about: caring for people and sharing with people. That is fundamental. And so I want to urge governments all over the world, including those here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and in opposition, because when you're in opposition, you see everything, but when you get in, you forget. So share with the people at all times. Have your broadcast, but go out and meet the people face to face. Because this is what it is all. This is what governance, good governance, is all about.
That's right. That's right.
And so I'm calling on politicians near and far, especially those in St. Kitts and Nevis, all the political parties. All the political parties. If you care for people and you want to get re-elected and you want to be a good, successful politician, care for people by sharing. And so this is what should have been done. It's not too late.
No, never too late. Never too late to consult the people.
Sam
never too late.
So that's my contribution with that.
Yes, my good people, and that's a very good piece of advice there coming from the man, the big JL. My good people, I'm just about getting out of here, and this day, Wednesday, 17 December 2025. And I want to take this opportunity to thank all you online viewers for hanging here with the DJ weekly and giving your input, giving your comments. I also want to take the opportunity to thank my engineer, the man Ike, my nephew, Glenville, for all of their work. Many of my technicians, I cannot call their name because, the vindictive behavior of our current administration. But I want to say thank you to all who have contributed in one way or the other. And as I look forward to sending a little contribution to those technicians and my engineer, anyone that can spare the few bucks, this is the time to get it across to the DJ so that we can take care of those folks, so that come January, we can be back here to continue bringing the message. Again, I want to say thanks to the good people there. Island Purified Water, Main Street, Newton Ground, St. Kitts, the good water people. Want to touch the man, Brother Scatter, aka Mr. Powell, for keeping the DJ hydrated when he is in our beloved federation. At this point in time, I want to drop this clip with my girl there, Sister Carmen of Carmen Caterers.
Girl Sandra, you know where you can find nice fresh local food 7 days a week, one provision and all kind of thing. Girl, where? Right down there by Shellings, by Carmen Catering Services. Girl, she opposite the bus stop. Girl, and she also cater for weddings, parties, anything you want to cater for, funeral and all. Girl, and trust me, you're gonna enjoy the food. And she also selling bites and Sundays. Opposite the car shop, right there in the main road. Girl, you could call 665-1494 or 663-6005 to order your food or go and pick up your food. Girl, the food will be finger licking and you get your money worth. You ain't want nothing better than that.
Yes, my good people, and remember, Carmen will be up there right at the entrance to Port Zante, opposite Ram, starting next week for the holiday season. So just let the Sister Carmen or DJ Marisha send you. She also has a raffle ongoing, so let's take a listen to that as well.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Carmen Catering Services will be having a raffle. Each time you come to buy your lunch, you just write your name and number and throw it in the box. Yes, first prize will be a $500 food voucher. Second prize will be a VIP ticket for DJ Terror function he having December the 27th. And third prize will be a grounds ticket also from DJ Terror, and we'll be having a Miss Phenomenal ticket giveaway, and 1 week free lunch from Carmen Catering Services. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, please come out, buy your lunch, show your name in the box. You have to be in it to win it.
Yes, my good people. And right now, let's take a quick one across to the Narrows there. Fountain to be exact, and here my boy Carbo have to tell us.
Cabos, located at Fountain Village in Nevis, is the go-to spot for your Saturday treat. Tantalize your taste buds with his delectable Cabos Delicacy Goat Water. Or, if you prefer some soul food, then Cabos Fungi and Fish is definitely the way to go. Call ahead and reserve at 869-663-9694. Then make your way over to Cabos and enjoy the vibrant atmosphere while you savor your delicacy. Cabos, we are not changing, we are only improving.
Food all over, food all over. You got the food all over.
Yes, Brother Carbo have the food all over Nevis there. And before we get out of here, just want to big up my crew there over at Elfrido's restaurant there and the Newtown Bay Road there, last year, St. Kitts. Whenever you guys visit the Elfrido's, you just have to ask my partner there, any of the waiters or waitress to give you the opportunity to tell them what the DJ had last he was there for lunch. And once you can identify what the DJ had, you'll get a complimentary lunch and this podcast. So check out Alfredo's there on the Newtown Bay Road, St. Kitts. Also, when you go across to the Frigate Bay area, I want you to touch my boy there, brother Mike and Angie there at the Jamrock restaurant. Don't you leave St. Kitts without checking out Jamrock. Lovely food, lovely service, lovely people. And you also take a skip up the hill there by the man Marshall's and let Brother Marshall know that DJ Marisha sent you lovely food as well. And then if you're looking for some pharmaceutical, you touch my boy there, Brother Romeo Paris, right there at the corner of Westbourne, Cotton Central Street. A man in the business for several years. Whether you need vitamin, painkillers, whatever you need, the men or the women, you need some help, Brother Paris can take care of you. And if you're driving and having your tire issues and need some service, you check my boy Tango at the tire shop there and Lowell Westbourne Gut. Tell my boy Mikey the DJ sent you. Also, if you're looking for some clothing while you're here for the kids or for the adults, you check my cousin there, Sister Gloria Hutchinson at Smart Fit right there on Central Street next to the Skeleton Building. Let her know the DJ sent you. Also touch my uncle there at the Garvey's Estate, the Millhouse Guest House, if you're looking someplace to stay for the holidays or you're looking to have an event. Let Brother Joseph know that DJ Marisha sent you. My good people, I got a couple of songs I would like to play for you, but time would not allow me to do that. But there's one particular song I must drop this evening because Sister Anastasia threw down this song some years back, and I think our ministers of government, their brain have drained completely empty. So I'm going to drop this one for the Dr. Joe-led government. Holiday season to you guys. I hope you guys come out in the new year with some common sense and better sense in what you all are doing. As I said to you good folks, come the 19th of December, that is this coming Friday, let us meet at the West Ferry Terminal. Let's have a conversation. Let's take a little stroll around the street and let them know that we cannot allow them to sell out our bill of federation, my good people. So this one is called Brain Drain.
Bring it again. At a time when the
find more policemen resigning. More and more we note our educators heading for greener pastures, coupled with the fact that our nurses migrating for bigger purses. We question their patriotism, but we must contain this brain drain. Brain drain. How can we prevent the nation's top talent from jumping on a plane? The brain drain. Brain drain. I must question why this phenomenon is happening again. Some say it's political persecution and no appreciation for their dedication. Some say that when they work in other islands, they are better paid for the brain drain. Driving we insane. It's so sad to see the talent migrating from my country. Hi-ya-ya.
Sister Anastasia.
Bring it again. At a time when our economy is floundering in bankruptcy, at a time when the powers that be is selling our patronymy, at a time when the youth of our nation are acting out in rebellion, they're crying out for attention, still we entertain this brain drain. Brain drain. How can we prevent the nation's top talent from jumping on a plane? The brain drain. Brain drain. I must question why this phenomenon is happening again. Many college students after graduation faced with the unemployment situation, so they want to stay and make a contribution, fly to USA, cause the brain drain, giving we migrants. It's so sad to see the talent live in my sweet country. Hi-ya-ya! Boy! Oh, hi-ya-ya! Bring it again! We feeling it! Oh, nice man! Hi-ya-ya! When the country's importing 80% of what they are consuming, at a time when the CSME is regarded with uncertainty, at a time when the foreign investors, quote unquote, flocking to our shores, from sugar workers to college lecturers, face redundancy, cause the brain drain. The brain drain. How can we prevent the nation's top talent from jumping on a plane? The brain drain. Brain drain. I must question why this phenomenon is happening again. Some say it's political persecution or no appreciation for their dedication. Some say that when they work in other islands, they are better paid for the brain drain. Driving we insane. It's so sad to see the talent living my sweet country, cause of the brain drain. Brain drain. How can we prevent the nation's top talent from jumping on a plane? Brain drain. Brain drain. crying again. Many college students after graduation, faced with the unemployment situation, though they want to stay and make a contribution, fly to USA, cause the brain drain, giving we migrate. It's so sad to see my people live in my sweet country. Hi, yeah, yeah. Oh. Oh, bring it again, yeah. Thank you.
Yes, my good people, that's the sound of Sister Anastasia. As we're coming down to the wire, look forward to seeing you back here on the 7th of January, God spare life. But in the meantime and between time, I want to touch my boy there, Brother Gijos. They at Main Street, Old Road. Remember, Gijo open every weekend, and I guess now is the holiday season, so you can catch Gijo there daily. Also want to touch my girl there, Sister Larrett, there at Culturama Bar and Nevis, right there under the mango tree. Tell Larrett I'll be looking for her shortly. Want to touch my boy Micah Slap, the man Micah there, and the best friend there, Nevis as well. Want to touch the man Swanee. Hope Swanee is doing well. Well, if you're in St. Paul's and you're looking for the DJ, and if the DJ is not in his bunker, you will find him down there at the Bang On Bar, right there in Main Street, St. Paul's, the man Shabby Dan. Or you can check me over here in the Willets area, over there at the Westmoreland Bar. The man Tony over there just found out last night that he got some very Arctic drinks there, lovely cold drinks. So I had a few with him last evening. So I look forward to spending some time there with Mr. Tony over the holidays. In the meantime and between time, my good people, I'm going to drop the unofficial anthem of our beloved Federation of St. Kitts Nevis. This one is called Arise by the late great King Arrow. I want to say again, thanks to your online viewers and all my supporters, family and friends alike, for keeping the faith and
unification, building a brand new nation. We move on together hand in hand. Rise, citizens, arise. The country is yours, all yours, still yours. Can your conscience be clear? Indulging corruption or misusing public office, being accused of unemployment and crimes, or disrupting a citizen's peace. Oh, my country in disharmony, separated politically. Hatred for a brother, cannot love each other. No, I say no, potato. Citizens, let's unite and stand up for rights, all our lives and our lives. Let us reintegrate and correct our mistakes. Reunification, building a brand new nation. We move on together hand in hand. So rise, citizens, arise. The country is yours, all yours, still yours.
Yes, my good people, and that brings us yet to the end of another successful podcast for the year, December 17, 2025, our final podcast for the year of this magnitude. If I come live, it'll be just a quick live to bring you some information. But this podcast, this is it until January 7th, God spare life. My good people, I want to big up my boy there, brother Everett Sadler, over there in the Miami area. I also want to big up my boy Peter Sadler here in St. Kitts. Peter Sadler, James Sadler of Sadler Funeral Home. Keep in mind, Sadler Funeral Home is open for business. They don't refuse you. And once you check in, you don't check out. And I can assure you, they got some very nice homes there. Some final homes they have there. I passed through earlier in the week. I see Peter there doing some lovely casket and coffins. So for those of you who have plans to check out, make sure you check with Peter there at Main Street Sandy Point before you go drinking and driving crazy. Let Peter know where to find you. There are some numbers there. Brent Sadler, 869-783-1907, 1907. That's 869-787-63-1907. There is a 869-669-0948. There's also a 869-767-3180, and there's an office number 869-667-7849, or you can contact them via email, sadlerfuneralhome@gmail.com. And if you're in the US and you're trying to reach Peter to bring home a a loved one or to do anything on this end, Peter, US number is 917-468-4473. My good people, that is it for this evening, and I look forward to seeing you folks in the new year. God blessings on everyone.